shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome to Morning Glory. It's coming up to 3 minutes past 6. It is Friday, ladies and gentlemen, the 12th of September. And we are here for the duration, up until 10 o'clock, of course, right with you all the way through the morning, because we've got an awful lot of news to discuss. It feels like a very long time ago since yesterday, but of course it's only 24 hours since we reported the terribly tragic death of Charlie Kirk, the murder, indeed, of Charlie Kirk. The front pages have still got this morning a picture of who they believe to be the suspect, who appears to have had some kind of very high-powered rifle, which they've now recovered, which apparently had trans messages on it. I'm not sure exactly what that means. We'll be exploring that throughout the course of the morning. Investigators hunting the gunman who shot dead Charlie Kirk recovered a hunting rifle with ammunition engraved with, and this is the words of the investigators, transgender and anti-fascist ideology. I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty weird. If it turns out that whoever it was that killed Charlie Kirk was some kind of trans nutter, I don't think that's going to help their cause very much, is it? I'm afraid. It's on the front page of the Telegraph, it's on the front page of the Times, it's on the front page of the Guardian, the front page of the Daily Mail, even the front page, of course, of the Sun, which has got the face of evil. They've got a picture of the guy that they're looking for. The President, Donald Trump, blamed the radical left for the death of the 31-year-old dad of two, amid reports the bullet fired at Utah University, as they say, was indeed engraved with transgender and anti-fascist ideology. We'll get into that. But the big story this morning, really, even bigger than that story, which is extraordinary, and I want to thank everybody for the way that you dealt with that story yesterday. I was quite upset about it when I was talking about it yesterday. I've had a chance to think about it now, a little bit more, composed, a little bit more, sort of normalised, I suppose, if you like, but still really quite disturbing in the way that some people have reacted to the death of Charlie Kirk. Some people sort of gloating about the fact that he's no longer out there on the main stage talking about things, which is really quite disturbing. But the main story this morning is all about Peter Mandelson and all about Keir Starmer and all about the complete and utter lack of judgment that this Prime Minister appears to be going forward with, because it was only a few days ago, in fact it was only Wednesday, 2 days ago, that he said this.
The Ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Yeah, he's playing such an important role in the UK-US relationship that he fired him yesterday. So much for the UK-US relationship. Sorry about that. Mandelson, I was clear about leaks to Epstein, it says on the front page of the Times. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, Starmer faces MP's fury over Mandelson's scandal. The Guardian even says the Prime Minister faces questions over his judgment as he is forced to sack Mandelson. And on the front page of the Daily Mail, Starmer ignored a string of warnings. They're saying Keir Starmer's judgment is politically being called into question after having to sack Peter Mandelson just hours after defending him. He removed the disgraced ambassador to the United States amid a growing Labour revolt over his links to paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Because here's what they basically said. They said, look, you know, there's been some new information. What new information was that then? Oh, what? Jeffrey Epstein was a paedophile? I didn't know that. Really? Oh, what about Jeffrey Epstein was in prison when Peter Mandelson went to stay in his house? Oh, we didn't know that either. Oh, hang on. Jeffrey Epstein was done for child trafficking. Oh, I didn't know that. You know, 2 days ago, this ridiculous Prime Minister, who's becoming more of a pantomime villain now, Keir Starmer, thought that it was fine to stand there and basically sort of body block Kemi Badenoch and say, oh no, we're not going anywhere near that because we know that we have full confidence in Peter Mandelson. He's a top man. He's very, very key to the US-UK relationship. And even a week ahead of Donald Trump's state visit, we're keeping him in place because he hasn't done anything wrong. He said he regretted knowing him. What's the difference? What an absolute and utter mess. As usual, Keir Starmer has got it completely wrong. James cleverly has jumped on the gun here and said, never mind what Mike Graham says, never mind what Nigel Farage says, we think you'll be gone by Christmas. What a great Christmas present that would be. 0344 499 1000 is the number. This is, of course, Morning Glory. Let's get it on. 7 minutes past 6. Tom Slater is here from Smites Online. Tom, very good morning to you. I mean, I don't know whether I'm living in some kind of telescopically kind of controlled world, but everything seems to be coming at me a lot quicker than it used to. Suddenly, you know, it was only yesterday that the horrible story about Charlie Kirk was on the agenda. We've now moved past that into kind of, you know, here's Peter Mandelson getting fired. 2 days ago, he was, you know, absolutely fine, no problem at all, keeping his job. Keir Starmer is literally, I mean, not only the wheels come off, I mean, the car's literally gone over the cliff, hasn't it?
No, absolutely. You can't really understate what a disaster show this government has become. And Mandelson was a good example of what this Labour Party has often had to do, which is try to kind of reach back to the horrendous kind of old ghosts of New Labour to try and give them a sense of professionalism or a bit of substance or whatever. But everyone knew that Peter Mandelson doesn't so much have skeletons in his closet. It's like a full graveyard. We know this about him. I don't think anyone realised it was quite as bad as actually visiting what was colourfully referred to as Epstein's pedo island, being photographed in a bathrobe, and then actually advising him after he comes under criminal indictment for soliciting child sex.
And telling him how he must get away from it and how everything's an opportunity and how about you study the art of war. You're going, what?
This is absolutely incredible. And the fact that Keir Starmer was warned about this, and warned about Mandelson in general by the security services, and did nothing about it. I mean, to say that this shows a lack of judgment is really undercooking it.
Yes, because at the end of the day, here's the guy. I mean, I remember when the process was going on, and I remember saying, I can't believe they're going to give this job to Peter Mandelson because, you know, Mandelson is, by all accounts, by any account, and I've known, politically speaking, known Peter Mandelson for a very long time, more than 20 years, maybe 25, 30 years. And the guy is a snake. He is, you know, untrustworthy. He hangs around with very, very wealthy people. I mean, I was saying to somebody yesterday, having a drink in the pub, you know, we'd all forgotten about Deripaska, you know, his relationship with the Russian oligarchs, his propensity for hanging around on luxury yachts, you know, his trips to Brazil with his boyfriend. You know, I remember working for the Daily Express, you know, back in, must have been the 90s, when he was threatening to get everybody fired because, you know, we'd discovered that he'd gone to Brazil with this, you know, this effect. I mean, he wasn't a rent boy, but he might as well have been. You know what I mean? It's just like, he's a horrible, sleazy character. And he had never had anything good going on.
Yeah, I suppose probably the idea when they appointed him to this ambassador role was, he's a slime ball, but he's our slime ball. He's someone who can kind of work the circuit, does have good connections and so on and so forth. But surely the first question they would have asked him or wanted to probe at was his relationship with Epstein. Is there anything that could really derail this? And also, the Epstein scandal is one of huge political importance in America as well as here. So for him to be embroiled in it and for the Labour Party not to know the full extent of it, or maybe they did and didn't care.
Right. Well, I wonder as well
absurd.
whether part of them was kind of going, you know, we've all basically slagged Donald Trump off, and suddenly we're in government and going, oh, you know, David Lammy, Keir Starmer, they've all got, you know, clips in which they say, we hate Donald Trump, he's a ghastly individual, and maybe they went with Mandelson because he was the only kind of glint of light who hadn't slagged him off.
And also who could very shamelessly just kiss anyone's backside if it means that it will work for him. So, as you say, maybe it kind of made a bit of sense at the time, but surely now they must have realised what, you know, a world of pain they made for us.
But which doesn't, all of which doesn't explain this. This was Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's Questions just 2 days ago. Check this out.
Has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role. I mean, only an idiot would say that, surely, at that point, because even then, the very morning that he said that, there was already questions being asked about a multi-billion-dollar deal that Mandelson had cooked up with Epstein to sell a taxpayer-funded and taxpayer-owned bank to JP Morgan. You know, so it was all there. It wasn't as if, you know, he had to walk into Parliament and go, everything's fine, there's no questions to be asked. There was already a whole bunch of questions.
And as soon as that photo of him in the bathrobe on the island came out, I just thought this is only a matter of time. Anyone could see that. I mean, there was going to be more details, there was going to be more stories. Then you saw the Telegraph bombshell, as you say, about this state-owned asset which is being sold to JP Morgan. Keir Starmer's just inability to see the oncoming train.
How can you not read the room?
Even
if it was a matter of self-preservation, you'd kind of go to your aides, I would have thought. You would say, hang on a minute, I'm going to get asked about this. And Kemi Badenoch was, you know, roundly kind of praised for making the best representation of her life at the PMQs this week, you know, because normally she's not very good. But she was good this week. And you would have thought that they would have war-gamed it and gone, look, when I get asked about him, you know, what am I going to say? You know, because what's coming? You know, what's in, you know, even the interview he did with Harry Cole, he suggested there might be more emails that would come out, which would be a problem.
No, exactly. That was incredible.
And that was Wednesday morning.
Anyone else could see that this is where it was going to end up. And the smarter move would be to get ahead of it. To say, we've seen this, it's terrible, therefore he's done the right thing and stepped down. But to let it drag on for days and days and days and hope that it will go away was just never going to happen. And the problem is it's just added to, well, the problem for them at least, probably good for any of us who oppose this government, but it's just added this sort of stench of death to the whole thing. This feels like the kind of dying days of the Tories, you know, 14 years in, out of ideas, on their 17th leader. But it's happened, you know, in less than 18 months. So this is the problem, isn't
Dan Hodges has written, again, I mean, you know, as I will say, I know, I've groomed him to this point, so he's now sort of completely turned. But he's written a piece in the Mail, page 9. In Westminster, there's an end-of-days mood around Starmer, like there was with Boris Johnson and Liz Truss. And that's how it feels. It feels as though he literally doesn't have a clue about how to, 1, protect himself, 2, protect the reputation of the government, or 3, protect the reputation of the Labour Party. And he's now facing, of course, this standoff between Lucy Powell and, you know, Bridget Phillipson, who are both running to be deputy leader. He obviously wants Phillipson to win. I don't think she's going to. I think Lucy Powell's going to stamp all over her. And she's his enemy.
No, because she just got kicked out of the cabinet, didn't she, not too long ago? I mean, it's
and also she represents all the people in Labour who hate Keir Starmer, and there's a lot of them.
No, exactly. And that kind of general sort of like soft left who feel like Starmer's being insufficiently, you know, profligate or whatever it might be. And I mean, it's not exactly a great political face-off, is it? Phillipson versus Powell. But at the same time,
I mean, I wouldn't even want to watch a mud wrestling, to be honest. I mean, which says quite a lot.
Absolutely. And Lucy Powell, though, if she does end up going through, I mean, would be a particularly terrible choice. I mean,
well, they both are. It's literally frying pan fire scenario, isn't it?
But also, like, Lucy Powell's like a gaff machine. Like, she was one of the brains behind the Ed Stone, or certainly she was put out on the airwaves to defend it. She was the genius who came up with, in the 2015 election, sending Ed Miliband to go and meet Russell Brand, which only really impressed Owen Jones, stupid. As I remember. And then, of course, she's on record.
Didn't she also say that if we didn't impose the winter fuel allowance ban on pensioners, that there would be a run on the pound?
She did say that. She also said that talking about grooming gangs is a dog whistle.
Yeah.
So, you know, one tick after another where she's concerned. So if you're right, she does become deputy leader. It's another albatross hanging around their neck.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, well, Mandelson knows all about that. Let's have a look at what Stephen Doughty had to say. This is the guy who's one of the thickest members of the Labour government. He's actually, incredibly, one of the, I think, Foreign Office ministers. Check this out.
In light of additional information in emails written by Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to the United States. The emails show, Mr. Speaker, that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. In particular, Mr. Speaker, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. And in light of that, Mr. Speaker, and mindful, as we all are, of the victims of Epstein's appalling crimes, he has been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect.
OK, so let's just examine what Stephen Doughty had to say there, the world's thickest member of the cabinet. He says it's OK if you want to go and hang out with a convicted paedophile. It's OK if you want to go and live in the house of a convicted paedophile or somebody who's under an indictment for being a paedophile. It's OK to basically be friends with somebody who's been involved in sex trafficking, as long as you regret it, right? But the new information that apparently has caused them to have to let him go is that he had said to the convicted paedophile, what you should do is fight it, and what you should do is look upon it as an opportunity. So that's the new information, apparently, that means he shouldn't have got the job. Are these people stupid or what?
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, especially this new revelation. I know they claim not to have known about it, but I struggle to believe that's entirely true. But just saying, well, you know, maybe he is a convicted child sex offender, but he tells me he's innocent and I believe him.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that really
even though
the
he's
kind
been
of
to
mind
prison
that we're talking about?
Even though he's been to prison, and I was a government minister when I went and stayed in his house when he was in prison.
No, exactly. It's just,
which they knew.
They knew that this relationship took place. They knew that there was at least kind of murky things that were going to come out. I mean, again, they probably were bamboozled by the full extent of it. It wouldn't surprise me if Mandelson was keeping some of this back. But at the same time, surely this was information that could have been found out. Surely
the vetting process doesn't involve me just going, no, here's the thing, Tom. I've got this great job for you, right? Are you OK? Are you know, anything to tell me? Yeah. And you go, no, absolutely fine. That's good. Great, you got the job. Is that vetting? Is that what they call it now?
I think the one thing that seems to have got him out of this particular issue was that he didn't have access to the email account, which these more damning emails are in. But again, is the British state such that
is that
that's
where
just
we
the
are,
end of
then?
the story?
Yeah.
You've got to take it on a kind of on his good word.
I mean, I've had more intense CRB checks when I've had to do work. I worked for a couple of websites a few years ago, which involved you know, working with kids and sort of talent and stuff like that, and trying to find, you know, kids that were really good at things and stuff. And in order to do that, you had to have a CRB check, you know, criminal background check. Now, luckily for me, I haven't had any criminal activity going on in my life, you know, but there is a way of doing that. Are you seriously telling me that the British government has a less sort of robust method of checking up on people than a basic CRB check? And
it seems like they actually ignored the advice that they did get from the security services as well, who basically, you know, took Keir Starmer to one side as it were, and it's probably not a good idea. So again, Mr.
It's not like it's a secret, is it?
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah, Peter Mandelson's a bit sleazy, is he? Crikey, blimey.
Because we've always assumed it was worse than we knew, and what we knew was already pretty sleazy in terms of, you know, his likelihood of just popping up on yachts left, right and centre with various unsavoury people. That's the thing about this story. It's like all great plot twists, it made perfect sense when we found out that, of course, he was hanging around with Epstein all the time. That made absolutely perfect sense. That's kind of who Peter Mandelson is. Those are the circles that he runs in. The only person who couldn't see that is Keir Starmer, or worse, he could see it and didn't think it was a big issue, which is just stupid.
Yes, but again, it shows you how tone-deaf Keir Starmer is and how useless his sort of surrounding apparatchiks are, because not one of them said, do you know what, this might be not the greatest idea you've ever had, because there was already an alternative. There was already a woman who was in the embassy who would have been perfectly acceptable to Donald Trump, and he wasn't asking for her to be replaced. In fact, I think he was saying we'd be more than happy to carry on with the woman who's already there. Yeah. Right? Have a look at this. This is Keir Starmer back in January of 2024 being questioned about Mandelson in opposition.
On Peter Mandelson, look, and I do try to give pretty full answers in these sessions. I don't know any more than you do, and therefore there's not really much I can add to what you already know, I'm afraid. And, you know, that's simply the state of the affairs.
So I don't know any more than you do. That's encouraging, isn't it?
Yep.
So any chance of you getting involved in, you know, NATO deciding to back Poland in an invasion against Russia? I don't know any more than you do. What about, you know, the bond markets? I don't know any more than you do. What's the point of being Prime Minister if you don't know any more than I know? I can read the Daily Mail. Yeah, read the Daily Mail, mate. You know, in fact, I actually know more than he does. What's wrong with it?
I watch the news, I read the newspapers, I know about as much as you do.
I don't know anything about Peter Mandelson's past. Why not? Have you not got people in that, like MI5 who track him?
I mean, is it too much to expect the Prime Minister or even just the leader of the opposition?
No wonder he can't stop the bleeding migrants coming over on boats.
He knows as much as we do, yeah.
I can tell you where they're coming from.
We should surely expect that the Prime Minister knows a bit more than we do about certain things. You would hope so, but maybe not. Maybe
you'd like to think so.
I think he's just out to lunch now. I think he knows his days are numbered and he's just...
Right.
You know,
here's the other, apart from old Stephen Doughty, the other biggest plank in the government is this bloke Mike Tapp, who, believe it or not, has actually been now given some kind of Home Office Minister's brief. He was rolled out yesterday. I'm assuming now they're just taking the mickey out of this idiot and going, just go out there and defend Peter Mandelson just before we sack him. Here we go.
What's important to me, and I'm really clear on this, is we do have the full answers on this. And what we've seen from Keir Starmer and from Lord Mandelson is that everything is out now. Is it out? Well, as far as I know, yes.
I mean, that's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you go out there and tell everybody that everything's fine, everything's out there, we know everything we need to know. He might as well have just said, I know just as much as Keir Starmer knows, which apparently is the square root of sweet FA. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, how embarrassing.
I know, but they're kind of putting people
in... Is there anything these idiots can get right?
And also, this is the sort of thing that will really start to make any loyalty that's left within certain Labour Party ranks wither away even more. Do you remember, like, towards the end of the Tory party, or towards Boris Johnson's reign in the Tory party, the Chris Pincher thing, sending out ministers to defend a line which then changed 24 hours later, humiliating themselves in front of the country day after day. We've gotten to that stage already. And this is people just being forced to humiliate themselves amongst the public because you've
the only difference, I suppose, in this case is that Starmer's gone out and humiliated himself.
That's true.
On Wednesday at Prime Minister's questions and gone, you know, he's answered all the questions that we wanted to ask him, and he has done the right thing by denouncing his friend, and you know, we're all good. Well, we're not all good, are we? This is an absolute disaster. And apparently now we've got senior Tory MPs, former members of the Cabinet, saying, I don't think Starmer's going to last till Christmas. You know, I've been saying it, and again, I bore everybody with this. I've been saying it since last August. He ain't going to last not only the full term to 2029, but much sooner than that, he's going to be gone. And I think James Cleverly might be right. Maybe he's going to be out by Christmas.
And how do you think that happens? Is that him stepping down? Because that's one thing Labour rubbish at is regicide. Tories a bit too good.
This is what people say. People have kept saying to me, look, there's no real mechanism for it. It's not like the Tories. It's not like them. We've got a 1922 committee. I think it is simply, one, the collapse of the economy. Two, a collapse in all kind of confidence in the government. It's literally almost a vote of no confidence. And I know that there are plenty of people on the back benches who just want him replaced. Yeah. No, and the fact that people are already talking about how febrile the atmosphere is, how little love lost there is. I mean, that was what this Prime Minister delivered them a huge majority. They owe their seats to him, kind of. I mean, we all know that was a kind of sandcastle majority anyway, but still, the fact that they've all turned on him so quickly just shows how rubbish he is, and also how little, you know, like authority he has even within his own party. I mean, look at what he did with the reshuffle last Friday. You know, he told Ed Miliband, "I want to move you to housing." Well, I'm not going. Okay, then. You know, what sort of boss is that? No, exactly. You imagine your boss coming to you and going, "Look, I want you to go and do this," and you go, "No, I'm doing that," and you'd be out of a job, wouldn't you? Anyway, so. Morning, Mike, says Steve. On the Starmer and Mandelson debacle, didn't Starmer say procedures were followed in the House on Wednesday? I think he did. Sean in Gloucester, I firmly believe that Keith Starling was quite happy with Mandy because he doesn't see anything wrong with what he's got up to, which speaks volumes about Starling. It does, actually. Let's get a voice note from Liam.
Morning, Mike. Liam from Kent. Old Keir Starmer needs to keep saying that he believes in people, doesn't he, really? Because every time he backs someone, within a week, they're gone. So who's next? I would like to put some money on it will either be Reeves or Lammy. Let's hope in a speech at some point that he may give over the next week that he backs these people, because then hopefully they'll be gone before Christmas. But I'm with you, Mike. I can't see him lasting now. This is it. He's just falling to pieces. Have a great show, mate.
He's literally melting before our very eyes. You know, it's absolutely incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it politically. Somebody who is this useless. Yeah. But, you know, people say, oh, the thing is he's not really a politician. He's more of a manager. Well, he's a crap manager, right? He's literally, you wouldn't put him in charge of the Welk stand. And he's just really, really, really hopeless. I mean, we talk about David Lammy there. There's a big piece in the Mail today, page 14 and 15. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy accused of encouraging hatred after fueling violent rhetoric against those on the right. This is obviously in the wake of the Charlie Kirk thing. We'll talk about that coming up. We're going to take a little break before we do that. And Nigel Farage has written a big piece in the Mail as well about Charlie Kirk and remembering him, as he says, his friend. And what about this ridiculous, wild atmosphere that we now live in, where people are saying such awful things about members of the right-wing sort of, you know, I don't know, commentariat, if you want, which has resulted in people being murdered. Absolutely extraordinary. It's 26 minutes past 6. Back after this.
We've been talking about that for 2 years. You're diverting. You're Clive. You're Lord Soley. I have to stop you. I have to stop you. I'm not. You're diverting from the story. This is a story about the Prime Minister's judgment.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm dealing with it. And I'm dealing with it. What I'm also saying is that this is a very important story. I accept that. You haven't even mentioned the attack on the NATO state. I haven't even mentioned it.
That was yesterday. The attack on the NATO state was yesterday. We talked about that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to very nearly 6:30, and I'm here with Tom Slater from Spike. Dean in Oxford says, morning Mike, can you get a government minister on and ask them how phase 2 is going? I'll tell you what, I'll do better than that. I'll play you Keir Starmer announcing phase 2. Have we got that?
Definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction.
That was the 1st of September, right? 12 days ago, 11 days ago. Since when he's lost as Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Housing, Communities and Levelling Up, and he's now lost the British Ambassador to the United States of America. Apart from that, it's going really well. Sorry, Tom. I can't take these people seriously. Let's talk to now former FBI Special Agent, Jonathan Gilliam, because he's going to tell us what the latest is. A lot of stories this morning to do with the man who fired the killer bullet that killed Charlie Kirk yesterday in Utah. He looks like a relatively young man. Apparently the gun that he used was very much a high-powered rifle. There's lots of graphics and things in the papers this morning about how he did it. The gunman fired a single shot into Charlie Kirk's neck, who immediately slumped over, rushed to hospital where he died at 2:40. It looks as though he was something like 420 feet away, according to some of the information I'm looking at here. And he appears to be on the roof of a campus university building. Jonathan, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good to be with you guys.
Thank you.
Very entertaining show. I've never watched it before. I live over here. I've been sitting here watching it. Very entertaining.
Well, listen, there's some terribly serious stories that we have to cover, but there's also, I mean, our government is so useless that it's an actually very entertaining government. But listen, thank you so much for joining us. It's a terribly shocking story. I mean, we you know, yesterday we had a very sombre show, obviously, because we were all terribly shocked about what had happened to Charlie Kirk. And I'm really quite surprised, knowing what we know about the US law enforcement authorities, that they haven't caught this guy yet.
Well, here's the problem, is that just like what happened in Pennsylvania with President Trump, and then later in Florida with President Trump, they left a tremendous avenue of approach for an attacker wide open. And like the lottery, if you continuously leave these avenues of approach open, eventually somebody is going to win the lottery, and somebody, in this case, the shooter won the lottery, and he came in there and utilized that avenue of approach. And this is a problem in the United States. Really, it's a problem around the world. I do threat assessments all over the world. I've been all over the UK as well, in most of your venues. And some venues are great, other venues not so much. Right. We go in there, we do threat assessments, and we look at these areas from the attacker's point of view, and then we coordinate with law enforcement and with the venues. And often you run into hurdles with them where they don't want to secure certain areas. And I believe that's what happened here. There was only 6 police officers there, and they did not do a threat assessment well enough to secure this building and the roof.
Right, and was some of that down to Charlie Kirk's kind of just, you know, affability, if you like? You know, he wanted to be out there, he wanted to be in the mix, he wanted to talk to people, he didn't want to be protected by, you know, sort of presidential-style security. Is that part of the issue here?
Well, it is with all entertainers, but you know, when you work with these people constantly, you have to train them. You literally have to train them and help them understand it. He could still have his events outside, but you have to do the proper threat assessment and lock down the areas, such as buildings and the roofs. Why do people keep continuously getting on these buildings? And this individual showed up with less than an hour before the shot, and somehow found his way up to that roof, which leads me to believe he probably knew that campus. But I didn't even really answer your first question. The reality is what's taken so long to get to this is because they didn't do the threat assessment properly, and that guy was able to get up there and then leave. And so law enforcement's hours and hours behind trying to track this individual.
Right, because I mean, knowing not very much about, you know, the use of high-powered rifles, but you know, knowing from what I see just in movies and things, you know, you have to get up on the roof, you have to assemble the gun if it hasn't been assembled already. You have to put yourself in position. He was clearly a very well-trained assassin, he hit one bullet and with a lot of accuracy.
I don't know how accurate I don't know how well trained he was. I mean, from that distance, about 173 yards with a 30-06, that is a very easy shot. You're nowhere close to the max effective range for that weapon. I mean, you're well inside that. So with a scope, if Charlie Kirk was running, you could have hit him. I just show you how to use a gun. You probably could have hit a moving target. So the fact that he was sitting there, I can almost guarantee you the guy was shooting for his head, but he hit Charlie in the neck.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he was trained that well, but I think he just had a wide open opportunity because the vulnerability was there and he exploited it.
Right. And we've seen pictures this morning of this guy. They're on all the front pages. What's the FBI like to be doing in the next sort of 24 hours? They've got a picture. Have they got CCTV? Would they have any other ability to track him in any way?
Well, they have the phone. Here in the United States, I'm assuming it's the same way in Europe and around the UK, is that your phone, whenever you're using your phone, or even if you're not using it, it's pinging off of cell towers.
Sure.
And so they can go and collect that cell tower information. And now with AI, you can build a map very quickly of what phones were where and how it was moving. And if this guy had a phone on him, and I'm thinking that you could see one in his pocket, most likely he did have a phone on him. They're tracking that. They're looking for cameras. And now they're working on DNA because his hands were all over the rails.
Yeah.
The gun had his DNA on it because he apparently wasn't wearing gloves. So they'll be able to do all that stuff, but that stuff takes time. It takes, hours to days to get, for instance, the DNA and the fingerprints and those things. And even then, if his DNA and fingerprints don't match any databases, it takes a lot longer because now with DNA they can search for family members and then try to connect people back. So it will take some time unless they get the right videos, or because they've shared the pictures. This is where law enforcement everywhere has to evolve, is they have to learn to use the citizenry as a force multiplier. Handing out these pictures or showing these pictures and these videos, that's what that does. And I think that may be the thing that actually gets this individual caught, because I think he's familiar with that campus, which means people would be familiar with him.
So they know him, yeah. Jonathan, fascinating. Thank you so much. Good to talk to you, and thank you very much. Let's do it again soon. Jonathan Gilliam, the former FBI special agent. Fascinating. Tom Slater's here with me, isn't it? Talking to these guys where, there we were only yesterday. I was saying, well, this guy's clearly a really, really good shot. He's probably been trained in the military. There he's going, with the kind of gun he's got, actually, pretty much anybody can fire it and probably hit the guy.
No, absolutely.
Astonishing.
And there'll be so much that we'll still learn, not just about the suspect, his motivations, all the rest of it, but also how this was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because of how much protests and violence often there has been on American university campuses, particularly when someone like Charlie Kirk shows up.
Yeah.
The fact that there are only 6 campus police officers, like Spike did an event on a university campus a good number of years ago now. And they insisted on there being at least 10 police officers at this thing.
Yeah.
They were doing bag checks on the way in. No one knew who we were. We were this little magazine from the UK, and yet because of the topic, it was about free speech, safe space, or whatever. Even that incurred...
this was in the US?
This was in the US,
Yeah.
but even that incurred all of this kind of level of security. So the fact that a figure as massive as Charlie Kirk is on American university campuses, that there wasn't that level of security is going to be another question that people ask about this, definitely.
Absolutely, extraordinary. Coming up, we're going to talk about the winter crisis facing the NHS, because apparently it turns out that, guess what? The waiting lists have done what? They've gone up. The waiting lists have actually gone up. So there are now more people waiting to be seen by the NHS than there were a year ago. So well done to Wes Streeting, well done to Keir Starmer, well done to the Labour machine, which keeps saying, we've made 5 million appointments and your waiting lists have come down. It's another lie. They're not coming down, they're going up at 6:39.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:41. It's Friday, of course, so don't forget this is when we play gaffs out for you, and we will be playing one for you very, very shortly. Davey says this: weird Stalin is more like a football club owner than a manager. Once you have his full confidence and support, you're gone within the week. Andy in Morecambe says, morning, Mike, does Starmer know anything? He didn't know anything about the Lucy Connolly case when she was in prison either. Great show. Yeah, do you remember when he was asked about Lucy Connolly? He said, I'm not familiar with the details of the case. You go, really? Aren't you? You haven't followed anything in the papers, you complete nutcase. Let's have a look at this gaff. This is brilliant. Kevin O'Sullivan, of course, the king of gaffs. Have a look.
Oh, God. I won't. I'm just trying to... You actually cannot see it.
Oh, no.
I cannot see it.
Well, it must be down there, then. I can't go on like this.
This is how he somehow managed to get his earpiece stuck inside his ear. So when he took the earpiece out, the earpiece piece was still in his ear, and then he put another earpiece in, which shoved the piece in even further. That's Samara Gill, his producer, trying to get the thing out of his ear.
Deary me.
I know. I mean, just horrendous.
Consummate professional.
Consummate professional. You never know, because, you know, it never gets filmed, does it? Let's talk about the old NHS, though, because incredibly, it turns out that there's a winter crisis coming.
Yep.
Just like every other winter, there's always a winter crisis coming. I mean, presumably at some point or other, Ed Miliband will pop up and go, we've only got 24 hours to save the NHS. Yep. But they've actually managed to increase the waiting list time.
Absolutely. So for the second month running, it's gone up in terms of the NHS procedure waiting list. I mean, the idea that it could get any higher is almost staggering. I mean, this is a legacy of COVID to a large extent. It's something they've never sorted out.
No, but they keep telling us, though. I mean, once again, tissue of lie after lie. Yeah. They keep telling us that the waiting list is coming down.
No, exactly.
Well, they're clearly not, are they?
They're just making it up as they go along. But you know, surely it can't be beyond the wit of man to bring these waiting lists down because of the fact that this is a pandemic thing which has never really been dealt with. And what we assumed would happen, because this Labour government is so useless, is that it would come down, but at nowhere near the speed we would want, and we'd be having to pat them on the head for knocking 10,000 off of it or something. Right. But the fact that it's going up, I mean, what more do we need to know to realise that this Labour government just aren't up to anything? All they had when they came in, because they have no vision, they have no particularly interesting things to say about anything, was that we're just the adults and the technocrats and the managers. Right. On that score, they're failing miserably as well. Anyone who voted for them must be thinking that they've been taken for mugs at this point in terms of what they've actually delivered. Well,
one of the things that he said just, I think, this week, I'm just trying to find his Twitter account. Oh, here we go, yeah. He put this out yesterday, right? I promised to pick the NHS up off its knees, and that's exactly what we're doing. I'm proud that this year the NHS has now delivered 5 million more appointments than last. This Labour government is building an NHS to be proud of. Well, we learned this week that there are 2 GP surgeries closing every single week. We also learned that basically 4 out of 5 hospitals are failing. And we also now learned today that waiting lists have gone up. Yeah. So, apart from that, he's doing really well.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Staggering job, as always.
And superb. Well done, Sir Keith.
This could actually really wreck Labour's reputation as like the party of the NHS, because people are going to associate this era with things just going from bad to worse. Meanwhile, them telling us that we've put in record funding, we've done this, we've done that. It's not filtering through.
We've solved the problem, it's not working. Let's have a look at what he actually said about NHS appointments.
We're happily going to go to our constituents. We're going to tell them we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments, and we delivered 4 million extra appointments.
That was just a couple of weeks ago. Now he's up to 5 million. You just think of a number. You know, by the end of next month, it will be 10 million appointments. But it doesn't matter, because I get every single time I ask people for this question, and I'm going to ask it again today, people go, yeah, he might have made 4 million appointments. I've had 4 of them. You know, but I haven't actually seen anyone. They keep making appointments. One person actually wrote in last week and said, I've actually got a letter here where they've made an appointment and cancelled it in the same letter. Yeah. I mean, it's just a joke, isn't it?
No, absolutely. Just this sort of thing.
Meanwhile, rather amusingly, I've got a bit of a clue as to why it's not going well in the NHS.
I think I know which story you're talking about.
This is a medical tribunal which is going on, which involves a dad of 3, anaesthetist called Suhail Anjum, 44 years of age. Apparently left a patient in the middle of an operation to pop next door to have sex with a nurse.
Incredible.
It's like Carry On NHS, isn't it? You know, all right, darling. Yeah, what do you think? Oh, listen, I'm just going to deal with this guy. I've just got a quick bit of anaesthetic involved, and then just get yourself lie down over there, and I'll be around in 5 minutes.
The fact that he said he told them he was going on a comfort break.
Comfort break.
Which is not untrue, I suppose, in some respects.
I mean, I've never heard it called that before. But, you know, that's okay. Apparently, Anjem was tying up his trousers while Nurse C's were around her knees with her underwear on display.
Oh, so they got caught in the act.
Yeah, it's like a Benny Hill skit, isn't it?
No wonder those waiting lists aren't coming down.
He returned to the theatre 8 minutes later. You know, so he's quite efficient, this guy. The patient was unharmed. His shocked colleague at Tameside General Hospital in Manchester reported the incident, which happened in September 23. Anjem is now apparently working in Pakistan. Good luck to him. He says he felt shame and guilt at this horribly embarrassing incident, and he claims that he and his wife had not been getting on.
I'm surprised to hear that.
I bet she was getting on a lot less well with him after the case. You know, he accepted his conduct fell far short of expected standards and said he hoped to return to the UK to work. Mate, I wouldn't bother, to be honest. We don't really need people like that here.
No, also, you know, that is going to haunt his Google search results for the rest of his days.
It really is.
You know, good luck at those job interviews.
Absolutely. Nurse C apparently is not being named. He told colleagues working on the keyhole gallbladder removal that he was going for a comfort break. A colleague readying for another op found him and Nurse C in a compromising position. Can't make this stuff up. What's wrong with people?
NHS, there you go.
You know, God bless him. Do you think he was really clapping him as he came out? You know, well done, sir. 8 minutes. Yeah. Good.
Claps for comfort break.
Yeah, comfort break, clap, blimey. Morning, Mike and Tom. I think Starmer finds it impossible to look at anything without his human rights hat on. Mandelson's appointment was him saying even a twice-sacked former minister should be allowed redemption. You see, I don't see it that way. I think that he was strong-armed by the likes of Tony Blair and the Blairites, who have now kind of taken over to say, look, you've got to give old Mandelson a job because he's the sort of the dark heart of the Blair project. You know, the witch Blair project, as we used to call it.
It is funny, though, like, Keir Starmer, always so moralising, so smug, so superior, whatever. You literally appointed the guy who was nicknamed the Prince of Darkness to be your ambassador, and then you're surprised that there was a little bit of darkness in his backstory.
I know, incredible. Let's get a voice note from Dan.
Good morning, Mike. It's Dan from Kent. We've had this useless government for 14 months now, and within that 14 months we've had 18 misconduct and resignations. Add to that the Lord Ali donations, the lies, the U-turns, the economy's in the gutter. What I don't understand as well is Mandelson's resigned as or been sacked as ambassador. How is he still allowed in government? And I presume he'll be coming back after he's packed his bags straight into the House of Lords. How?
Yeah, it's a good question, Dan. I mean, I think I'm right in saying, Tom, that you can't be sacked from the House of Lords, really, even if you've committed a criminal offence, because there's been several Lords and peers who've done that, and they can still go back to work.
And presumably it'd be something that is there just going to be so much pressure put on him to bow out. Right. Maybe that's what we're talking about here, but Peter Mandelson is, if nothing else, a very kind of self-assured individual.
He's not going anywhere, is he?
He probably still thinks he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, maybe even those mea culpas weren't fully honest. So
well, when he spoke to Harry Cole in that exclusive interview, I don't know if we can play that. Let's have a look at what he said to Harry Cole, because this was a couple of days ago, and even after this, Starmer thought it was all right.
One, I feel a tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done. And I regret very much that I fell for his lies. I fell and accepted assurances that he had given me about his indictment, his original criminal case in Florida. Like very many people, I took at face value what he said. With hindsight, with fresh information, many years later, we realized that we had been wrong to believe him. He's a charismatic criminal liar, we now see, and I regret very much indeed. I felt it like an albatross around my neck since his death in 2018 or 19 when it was. I feel a tremendous sense of regret, not only that I met him in the first place, but that I continued the association and I took at face value the lies that he fed me and many others.
I mean, what's a load of old cobblers?
Yeah.
You know, this is a guy who is making out that he didn't realise he was a sex offender, didn't realise he was a predator or a paedophile, even though he was in prison for doing it.
Yeah. And also this thing that, I just, you know, my only flaw is to trust too much is almost what he's kind of saying here. Like that original criminal indictment.
Yes, it's not my fault.
In 2008, sort of saying, and he told me that he didn't do it, and I believed him. You think and even before this ambassador position, you know, he was around that time. He was, you know, still an incredibly prominent, powerful politician. This is lack of judgment doesn't cover this. I mean, there's something so murky about this. And again, he's on record saying this is an albatross around my neck, and still they hold on to it.
And what was he doing? You know, why was he in a bathrobe? Why was he smiling? Where had he been? Who had been doing what to him? You know, what was he doing on Pedo Bleeding Island?
And those quotes are so humiliating as well. It's not just, you know, he's passed through, as a lot of people did in the whole Epstein world, you know, my best pal, we love you, Jeffrey.
Right.
This is, again, as soon as that photo
whenever you're not here, you leave behind some interesting friends, and here's a picture of a girl not wearing very many clothes. And he's kind of almost trying to hide the fact that he's done nothing wrong because he's gay. Therefore, he wasn't, you know, tempted to do anything with these young women. Well, maybe they were young boys as well, I don't know.
Yeah, also just being around that, in any proximity to it is going to damn you. But again, I go back to it. He's literally saying it's an albatross around my neck. Surely at that point, some might think, you know what? Please get the albatross underneath our own necks and deal with this. But no, every time he fumbles it.
Unbelievable. 6:52. We better move on because we haven't got a lot of time left. But Tom Slater's here. I'm Mike Graham. This is Morning Glory.
Of course, he's a civil servant now, and Keir Starmer will think a successful civil servant, ambassador to the court of Donald Trump, a trade deal signed. We've got Donald Trump coming over for a state visit very soon. He wouldn't want to lose him so quickly after losing his deputy prime minister. But the crux of it is, I think, and Mandelson himself almost laid the ground, saying it was a very embarrassing, in his words, stuff is yet to emerge.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to 5 minutes to 7. The sun is up. It's quite a nice sunrise, actually, this morning. This from someone who doesn't give a name, but that's OK. Mike, just listening regarding the waiting list, and it made me laugh because only yesterday I had a text from a children's hospital to tell me my daughter's still on a waiting list for a follow-up appointment. The initial appointment was in 2022. That's 3 years ago, by the way. This is just a check-up. I completely forgot about it, as the consultant had no concerns to investigate. At the bottom of the text, it asked me to reply if I wanted her to be removed off the waiting list 3 years later. Shocking. Well, this is what happens. I mean, we'll ask you for some more of your stories about the NHS because, again, you know, this government tells us that, you know, on the one hand, they're making more appointments, they're reducing the waiting list, and both of those things turn out to be completely and utterly incorrect. Waiting lists are going up. Tom Slater's here. Final couple of stories. Great one in The Sun, page 13. Apparently, they banned toast at Good Morning Britain.
And for health and safety reasons.
Yeah.
Apparently, the place that they toast the bread doesn't have enough windows or something, and so they're worried it would be, you know, some
fire hazard,
sort of noxious substance. Really not gone down well with the
Susanna Reid's not happy.
She's not happy either. Apparently this was an issue.
I mean,
they
haven't just banned toast there, they've banned all common sense as well, because they're not allowed to use it at all, are they?
Absolutely. I mean, this is absolute. That's been very telling from a lot of their output recently.
Yeah.
But apparently this has been a long-running battle. Piers Morgan had to shame them live on air a few years ago to get them back down from banning the toast.
Really? That's funny.
But these are the kinds of minds that you do. Apparently, because
they've got no money anymore because they're losing so much money, so crap. It turns out that they've got no canteen either. So people who come in, like we do, to work overnight, can't get themselves any access to any kind of food. So they have to bring their own food in. Well, welcome to the real world, guys.
And not even the toaster.
I know.
I mean, that's
incredible.
New low, isn't it?
Also, my other favourite story is the best response to an insult. I'm going to let you tell this story because I'm not sure that I would ever use this phrase, but tell us what they say.
So apparently, according to scientists, this is the sort of thing they study these days, the best comeback to an insult is to say, "Calm down, Grandma." The jibe apparently negates any of the negative effect by someone insulting you. This is part of the BBC Science Focus magazine, which again, it seems like there might be other things I might be.
Can you imagine saying that to someone in the BBC? I mean, I bet you'd probably be up against all sorts of HR complaints.
Surely, that the deep ageism.
Yeah. Ageism, you know, grandma, you know... It's
kind of sexist, I suppose.
Yeah, it's sort of... It's gender specific. You're actually, you know, assuming somebody's gender.
You don't know that that's your grandma, you know, it might be your grandfather.
Exactly.
So
if somebody says, your haircut looks stupid, you reply, OK, calm down, Grandma. I mean, I don't imagine in this day and age that we live in that somebody would ever come up and say, your haircut looks stupid.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it, would they?
Surely not.
Be too frightened.
Absolutely. So, like, can we even do insults anymore?
I mean, I still do it.
You're putting in work for the rest of us.
Whether you like it or not, you know. But the secret to insulting people is to do it in a way that they don't know whether you're being serious or not, and then that way they're not sure if you're being horrible, so they can't complain. So normally, if I would go to you, you know, Tom, I don't know whether you know got out of bed on the wrong side this morning, but you know, there's something going on, very weird going on with your glasses, and then just move on, and you don't know whether I'm being serious or not. And then that way you can't take offence.
Exactly. I'm stewing on it right now.
Exactly. You're going to look in the mirror when you get out. It's true. Anyway, listen, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Tom Slater. So much more coming up. We're going to be talking about the idiocy of this Labour government. We'll bring you the latest on Charlie Kirk, of course, as well. We want to hear your NHS stories too, because the waiting lists have now actually started going back up. This is Talk.
My message to people smugglers is this. I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
People smuggling puns.
He couldn't even smash an avocado for a piece of toast.
Or the people... What would the people...
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent. Well, it might be if you smashed any, if you found any.
The
The people smash those. The smash.
And he hasn't smashed anything. I mean, literally all he does is he smashes records every sort of couple of weeks, where more and more people come in a period of 24 hours.
Smash the gangs that are running this vile trade.
You're never going to smash the gangs. That's something that basically is impossible. The gangs are like the Hydra. You cut the head off and another two grow.
So I did write to ministers and say that I wasn't convinced that smashing the gangs was the right sort of way of thinking about things.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Keir Starmer has just tweeted 15 minutes ago. He says, "I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. We will smash the people smuggling gangs at source." Maybe I'll just read it all in his accent, shall I?
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. I do not accept that prevents us working with other police units here, with prosecutors here, to smash the gangs.
Yeah. Well, sure, the smuggling gangs are absolutely quaking in their boots now. Keir Starmer is on their case. Solving this issue, smashing the gangs, is that the impossible dream, Tom?
It really seems beyond him at the minute, I have to say.
We're going to get the evil people smugglers and we're going to smash them and we're going to put them in jail. That will solve the migrant crisis. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's promise to smash the gangs has resulted in just 5 convictions. Hurrah for operating small boats.
So what he really wants to say is that this policy of smashing the gangs is a total and utter disaster. There isn't a cat in hell's chance that it's going to work. You just can't say it.
It's crap. That's what he's basically saying.
I know you're angry about immigration. I get it. Mark my words, I will take back control of our borders. That means cutting migration, ending the use of asylum hotels and ramping up our efforts to stop small boat crossings.
It's like a parallel universe, the real world, as told by the impressive David Bolt, and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' fantasy world.
We will smash the people...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning and welcome to Morning Glory. It's 3 minutes past 7. I'm Mike Graham. It's Friday the 12th of September. If it was the Ides of March, it couldn't get any worse for poor old Keir Starmer. I say poor old Keir Starmer, I don't really mean poor old Keir Starmer. I mean useless, hopeless, hapless, incredibly unlucky and worthless Keir Starmer. This is a man who only 2 days ago issued his full confidence in the UK ambassador to the United States of America, one Lord Peter Mandelson. Have a listen.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Yeah, well, not anymore, he's not, because the US-UK relationship is fine. Lord Peter Mandelson is not. He was sacked yesterday as US ambassador, and it's hard to believe that Keir Starmer could even say those words just 24 hours before letting the guy go. But he's got history on that, and we'll be revealing over the course of the show exactly what he says about all of the people that have left his cabinet. Because let's not forget, there's been plenty of them. There's been Tulip Siddiq, the corruption minister, who had to leave as a result of being accused of corruption. We had the homeless minister having to leave because she was accused of making people homeless. We had the Transport Secretary, Louise Hay, having to leave because it turned out she was a convicted fraudster. You know, the list just goes on and on and on and on. This must be the worst government in the history of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It must also be the most gaffe-prone government that has ever been as well. Because literally, as soon as Keir Starmer stands by you and says, everything's fine, I have full confidence in the minister. You know, this time last week, he had full confidence in Angela Rayner. And do you remember, we were actually counting down to her resignation this time last week, and I said I'm pretty sure she'll be gone by midday. And sure enough, by midday, Angela Rayner resigned. I'm not sure if we can get anybody else to resign between now and the end of the show at 10 o'clock, but we'll let you know. If you've got any ideas, do please join us. Also, big story today, obviously, the follow-up on Charlie Kirk, the terrible, awful murder of one of America's brightest stars, one of the brightest conservative commentators and sort of acolytes, if you like, than there's ever been. Somebody who helped Donald Trump get into the White House for a second time. Somebody who had completely and utterly galvanised the right-wing young people in America because he started out that entire movement, of course, which was called Turning Point. He was shot dead by a man who's on the front pages of the papers this morning. Pictures of a guy with a sort of baseball cap wearing a T-shirt, a sweatshirt, and he's being sought currently by the FBI. The face of evil is what it says on the front page of The Sun. Nobody knows exactly who this guy is, but clearly he carried an ammunition which appeared to have some kind of pro-trans message on it. So that's a big story we're going to cover this morning. We're bringing the latest on that from America. Also, the NHS is right back in the dark doo-doo because it turns out that waiting lists have actually gone up, believe it or not down. So one more lies from the government. They keep banging on about more appointments and how waiting lists are coming down. Well, they're not. They're actually going up. Incredible. So we want your stories about waiting lists and any letters you might have had from the NHS over the course of the last several weeks and months. 0344 499 1000 is the number. Benedict Spence coming up in this hour, 6 minutes past 7. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Breaking news, I'm afraid. The UK economy recorded zero growth in July. Zero. Nada. Nothing. Niet. I mean, we could go on. It's like Monty Python sketch. Bugger all. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to swear. Sorry, I'll take that back. No growth at all in July. So it remains the UK economy at 0.4% growth. You might as well have no growth at all. I mean, it's like pretty much stagnated. How about this from Sarah in Morden? She says, when he announced phase 2, I thought he wanted to draw a line to the preceding 14-month car crash, so we never mentioned it again, as if it never happened. Phase 2 has been so exciting, we haven't had time to think about it. Can't wait for phase 3. He's finally given us something positive to look forward to, his own demise. I think that's right. I mean, somebody's put out a meme where they've got phase 1 and it's him and Angela Rayner on their knees, you know, taking the knee for Black Lives Matter. Phase 2 is just him without her because she's obviously disappeared from the scene. And phase 3 is nobody. It's just an empty room. It's just incredible, isn't it? Shall we have a look? Let's do it. We've got to do this. This is Keir Starmer announcing phase 2 just about 12 days ago.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction.
How's it going now? Good spirits. Well, there's two people who were in that room who are now not in the room. One, Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister, who's been sacked, and Peter Mandelson, who is, of course, the former US ambassador, who's now also been sacked. I can't wait for phase 3. Benedict Spence is here. Benedict, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
I mean, you don't look as enthusiastic as I am about phase 3, but you know, it's got to be a great thing, isn't it?
Well, that's because I've been out on the lash trying to forget what country I live in at the moment. But let's not get by the by. I'm sure as and when it does turn up and Keir Starmer's demise comes along, I will go back out on the lash again, and then the next one will look much the same. Sadly, it's not happening fast enough for me. It's happening about as quickly as UK growth is happening.
Yes.
He seems to be insistent on getting rid of absolutely everybody else first. And whilst that is also very amusing, there are rather a lot of them, so it's going to take a bit of time.
It is going to take a bit of time. But isn't it extraordinary that the Prime Minister can get up in Prime Minister's Questions on Wednesday, only 2 days ago, right, and say this? Check it out.
Has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Not anymore, he's not, because he's now been fired. It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, there was no new information. There was absolutely no reason to suspect that Mandelson was anything other than a sleazeball when they gave him the job. And everything that they now know, they knew.
It's magnificent, really, isn't it? It's an encapsulation of the Starmer government, which is to say that we're sort of on top of everything, and then in a very short space of time, we're on top of absolutely nothing, and we're going to throw something to the wolves because we didn't plan, accordingly beforehand. And this really is, this isn't a situation like with Angela Rayner or Tulip Sadiq or any of the others where they misbehaved whilst they were in post.
Right.
This is something that was known about long before Lord Mandelson got his job as ambassador. It wasn't a secret. The Financial Times and others had been reporting about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein for years, plural.
Yeah.
And yet Starmer still went ahead and thought this person seems like a jolly good sort to actually have as our man in Washington. So how it was that they didn't foresee this potentially being a huge landmine at at some point. And then when the story started, how it was that they didn't realize straight away, oh, this isn't going to be able to last. I mean, it's just incredible lack of judgment. I mean, it is also very amusing that it's happened within a week of Angela Rayner going and within a fortnight of the reset, because it just sort of compounds the incompetence of the administration in number 10.
Well, quite.
But as I say, how they didn't see this giant Jeffrey Epstein letter-shaped train coming down the tracks, I have no idea.
I know. But it turns out it's actually worse than that, because not only are they incompetent, but they actually ignored advice. According to the front page of the Daily Mail today, Keir Starmer basically just didn't listen to the security services, who asked quite a lot of questions and who posed quite a few kind of, shall we say, doubts about whether or not we should be giving this guy access to the keys to the kingdom, effectively. I mean, I've been inside the embassy in Washington. It's a magnificent building. It's an incredible place, and it's a very powerful position in America. It's one of the most powerful positions that any foreign government have, to be the British ambassador to the White House, and the idea that he just kind of poo-pooed the concerns of people in MI5 and people in British intelligence is even more sinister in a way than his incompetence.
Yeah, I mean, one sort of has to wonder, what is it? Is it the interpersonal relationship that Keir Starmer has with Mandelson? Is it, to do with his personal loyalties to him? Is it because he's just a bit of a half-wit and he thought that he knew better than the security services? In his infinite wisdom as a former human rights lawyer and prime minister and XYZ, it's very difficult to put your to put your finger on. But I mean, there's also just a really easy test for this if you're Labour. If Mandelson was a Conservative, how much would you be shrieking at the top of your lungs that it was sleaze, that it was inappropriate, and that he shouldn't have been in that position? The answer is before he was even given the position. That is all that Labour MPs would have been talking about if he'd been a Conservative. So if that's the purity test and he would have failed it, why on earth did they think that he was going to last just because he has a red rosette?
Yeah, exactly right. And it is that whole kind of, dark, desperate background which goes all the way to the beginning of the Keir Starmer sort of premiership, and Lord Ali. Because Lord Ali and Peter Mandelson were very big mates, and Lord Ali was somebody that Peter Mandelson used, shall we say, when he was in government himself in the early part of this century. There's all sorts of recommendations you can find of his references to Lord Ali. There's all sorts of references to how Peter Mandelson went down to Lord Ali's house in Kent and used to work on all sorts of, dark dealings that he was going to come up with and recommendations for Tony Blair. So, Lord Ali is a kind of, shall we say, a thread that runs through, which connects, basically, the Blair government, the Brown government, and this government.
And there's not really any other word for it. You'd call it a form of sleaze.
Yeah.
Given the nature of the stories that have come out.
Corruption, I would call it.
Yeah. And again, why on earth is it that Labour politicians, ostensibly really intelligent Labour politicians, the ones that get to the top, why is it that they can't see that this is going to be a problem and that it's probably going to come out and that it's going to damage their administrations? I just, for this individual, Keir Starmer, who is supposed to be forensic, who's supposed to be this brilliant legal mind. We were all told how he was sort of prosecutorial and how he would get into things, he'd be thorough, and it would be sort of unlike anything we'd seen under the chaos of the Tories. We just seem to have the same sort of person with abject blindness for what actually does and doesn't constitute sleaze and what does and doesn't constitute competence. How can it be that he is the exact same as every Conservative Prime Minister, if not perhaps slightly worse? He doesn't even have the personality to try and pass it off.
No.
At least Boris Johnson would have said something vaguely amusing or tried to argue around it. Starmer just goes, "I've got confidence in the person," and then without warning, a couple of hours later, he's out on his ear.
And then he sends out these kind of morons he's got working for him. And chief moron of the Starmer regime, I would say, is Stephen Doughty. I don't know if you've ever come across this guy before. He once was in trouble in Wales, where he's a local MP, for purchasing or procuring, shall we say, some painkillers from somebody illegally. I don't understand why he would have done that, but that's the kind of level of people we're dealing with here. Here he is speaking in the House yesterday about what we didn't know.
In light of additional information in emails written by Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to the United States. The emails show, Mr. Speaker, that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. In particular, Mr. Speaker, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. And in light of that, Mr. Speaker, and mindful, as we all are, of the victims of Epstein's appalling crimes, he has been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect.
I mean, I'm sorry, how is it new information that Mandelson had suggested to Epstein that he should fight his conviction and that he should try and somehow learn from it and make an opportunity of it? You know, it all happened a very long time ago. Why did they not know? As I said to Tom Slater a little bit earlier, is the vetting procedure as simple as me saying, "Benedict, have you got anything dodgy in your background?" And you just go, "No," and you go, "Right, you're in then." Is that it?
If so, then we should all be a lot more ambitious about trying to get positions in government, because actually it turns out anybody can just turn up and say, "Trust me, bro," and they'll go, "Yeah, no, okay, you can come and work for the British government as an ambassador." Where do you fancy going, Mike? Japan? I quite fancy Tahiti.
Yeah,
I
don't know. I mean,
before.
Tahiti for a couple of years might be quite nice. You know, a bit of an ambassadorial role in amongst the palm trees.
Yeah, please, don't vet any of us. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter if we have experience. It doesn't matter anything at all. We can all just rock around. I sort of joke. I suppose that's sort of what we did during the days of Empire. But still, it's one of those things where you look at it on the face of it, and it's very clear what's happened. He's somebody who is a big beast and carries a bit of heft, and he's got close personal friendships with people throughout the Labour Party. So it is, if you like, a job for the boys. That's what this is. But of all the ones you could have possibly picked, and I go back to what we said at the beginning, none of this was really new. Even if it wasn't in the public domain, plenty of newspapers knew about this, and they were pursuing these leads. If they did, the security services will have known about some of this stuff. And as we now know, Starmer was told this stuff is out there. Yeah. It's potentially very dangerous. It's potentially very damaging to you. You might not want to do this. Lo and behold, he's gone and done it anyway. And, why should we be surprised at his judgment, given some of the appointments that he's made elsewhere? I mean, for heaven's sake, his preferred candidate to be deputy leader is Bridget Phillipson. Does this give you the impression of somebody who is red hot on appointments and on the capabilities of people? I'd think not.
Well, and also, nobody's really highlighting this at the moment. They're not really saying it's a security risk. But when you get somebody who is this dodgy, this sleazy, this kind of wedded to money, to power, to profits, and to have a nice lifestyle that he could never really afford to have, he would literally sell his grandmother down the river for a pot of gold, as it were. So, in what way is he a safe pair of hands to be put in a position where he could be influenced by Russia, he could be influenced by China, he could be influenced by any number of foreign powers that wish to do Britain harm, and he wouldn't care because he's getting a nice, Rolex out of it or something?
Again, if it were a Conservative, these would be the things that people would be saying straight off the bat, that he is corruptible, that he could be bought by foreign powers. If this was David Cameron that we were talking about, do you remember that actually the outrage that followed David Cameron when he went around to sort of try and make money around the world, and people said that it was disgraceful? Well,
they're doing it to Boris Johnson now, aren't they? The Guardian are all over him like a rash, saying, "Oh, he went to Venezuela for £250,000."
Absolutely. There is a double standard at play here. And actually, we don't sort of sit here, when Conservatives are caught up in corruption scandals and go, "Oh, well, that's okay. Let's look at what Labour's doing instead." The point is that there is that double standard where actually it's when Labour politicians that end up in this situation, it's only when they're sort of banged to rights that people turn around and go, oh no, a scandal involving a Labour MP, who could possibly have thought it? Oh well, we'll just have to move on and hope nobody pays attention to it. But it does seem to keep happening with a remarkable consistency in this government, that senior people have finally, they've worked all their lives to get to the top of government, to get to these key positions, and lo and behold, it turns out morally they aren't the most upstanding characters. Who would possibly have seen that coming?
I know, absolutely shocking. But, you know, as brazen as you like, though, really incredible. Benedict, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Benedict Spence, political commentator there, on the incredible sort of barefaced lies told not only by Peter Mandelson, but also by Keir Starmer, who apparently discovered belatedly that what he thought was true turned out not to be true. Let's get a gaff, though, because it is Friday. And before we go across to College Green to speak to Alex Burkhart MP, here's Mel Stride.
Well, I'm here in San Francisco, and I'm just out of a meeting with some venture capitalists, and I'm on my way to my next meeting, and I'm going by taxi. But this isn't just any old taxi. It's a taxi without a driver.
A bit like the Tory party, some might say, but that would be unkind, wouldn't it? 7:21.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 24 minutes past 7. I'm Mike Graham. Steve says, it's good to see you on top form after you were so much more thoughtful yesterday, which was understandable. Yeah, we were much more thoughtful yesterday because of this shocking murder of Charlie Kirk, and we'll be bringing you more on that throughout the course of the show today. The front page is full of pictures of the man that is believed to have been the one who fired the killer bullet, the face of evil, it says on the front page of The Sun, and I'm sure that knowing the Americans, they will catch him very soon. They have the death penalty in Utah as well, which he may well be facing at some point. Rachel Reeves' idea of fixing the foundations and stabilising the economy equals zero growth, says Noel. That's right, we just had breaking news this morning that the UK economy recorded no growth in July at all, which basically means that they have achieved net zero in one way, shape or form, but unfortunately it's nothing to be proud about, is it really? Alex Burghart's here, MP, Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster as well. Alex, very good morning to you.
Morning, thanks for having me on.
Not at all, good to see you. More bad news for the economy this morning. I mean, obviously we'll talk about Peter Mandelson in a minute, but no growth whatsoever in July. That can't be good, can it? July should be a month where people are spending money, where people are, you know, taking holidays in the UK, tourists are bringing in, you know, petrodollars and all the rest of it. How have we got no growth in July?
Well, I think, Mike, you know perfectly well why you haven't got any growth. It's because we had a disastrous set of economic policies from this government from November on. If you come in and you put massive taxes on business and you put huge amounts of additional regulation on, what do you expect? You know, everybody's feeling poorer. See, food inflation, price of food is going up and up and up, and people are retrenching. So, look, the government's only got itself to blame. But I'm sorry to say that I think that worse is to come, perhaps much worse. We know that the government is borrowing far, far too much money at a very high interest rate. We know that they're not going to be able to cut costs. We had that big Labour rebellion before the summer, as everyone will remember, over quite a small welfare saving. And that means they're going to have to put taxes up again in November. You know, they're putting off reality, but that's what they're going to have to do at the end of November if they can't cut costs and reduce borrowing. And the result of that will be to squeeze the economy further. So look, we're on course for a recession at this present time.
It's only 11 days ago, I know it's hard to believe this, but 11 days ago when Keir Starmer launched the phase 2 of the government, since when he's got no growth in the economy, he's lost his deputy prime minister, he's now apparently lost the ambassador to the United States of America as well. I mean, it's hard to believe how much worse this could get.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what phase 3 is going to be like, doesn't it? I mean, this is a disaster for the government, and I think the Mandelson scandal is not over yet, right? There's definitely more to come. We saw last night a briefing that the security services had raised major concerns about Peter Mandelson when he went through his vetting process. And we see in the papers this morning that allies of Peter Mandelson are briefing that he was clear about the fact that he'd had an ongoing relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein through his conviction and imprisonment. And this means, sounds very much like Number 10 had the facts in advance, and they made the appointment anyway. And I've worked in Number 10. I can tell your listeners a little bit about how this works. There are 3 people who'd be involved in an appointment like that. There would be the Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, big Labour man. There'd be David Lammy, who was then head of the Foreign Office, because major ambassadorial appointment, he'd been involved, and it'd be the Prime Minister himself. Now, I think it is very, very unlikely that anyone would have prevented the Prime Minister seeing that security information, which we're now being told contained information about Mandelson's ongoing relationship with Epstein. And that's to say that the Prime Minister actually knew about this all along. I think that casts major doubt over his judgment, and he has enormously serious questions to answer. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to push the government to publish that information, put it on the public record so we can all see who knew what when. And then sit back and watch the fireworks.
Well, I mean, Kemi Badenoch asked him several times, did she not, in Prime Minister's questions,
she did.
whether or not he would release the information. He talks about there being a process, he talks about there being an inquiry. As far as I know, he hasn't launched an inquiry. But Stephen Downing Doughty, the man who was pushed out yesterday to explain what was going on, said that there was new information. I don't believe that there was new information. The information, surely, and you say that you know how it works on the inside, Alex. Surely the security services would have had all of those emails, would have had that information. You know, why would the Daily Telegraph be able to get access to things that you know, the intelligence services didn't have? I just simply don't believe that there was new information that they didn't already know about.
There's either a major problem with the vetting process, or there's a major problem with the Prime Minister. And I think on balance, it's much more likely there's a major problem with the Prime Minister.
Yeah, absolutely right. So will you be taking... I mean, he's also going for a recess, I think, fairly shortly, isn't he? Because Donald Trump's coming next week. They've had a recess in order to stop any embarrassment about him coming to speak to the joint houses of Parliament.
It's totally outrageous, isn't it? That the President of the United States is coming here and he's not going to address both houses of Parliament. The fact of the matter is, Parliament's not closed in that time. House of Lords is still sitting. The Commons has got party conference season. But look, we would all come back to hear the President speak, and it's clear that they're trying to avoid a whole load of awkwardness. But to be honest, this thing is going to completely overshadow the presidential visit now, isn't it? It's just going to be question after question.
It's embarrassing.
I don't think Mr. Trump is going to... Mr. Trump's not going to like that. I feel a bit sorry for the King, because this is a major event in his calendar. And I think the Prime Minister is going to be showing the country an incredibly bad light. So let's get all of this information out today. Let's get it on the table and do it this week rather than have it dragging into next.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Alex Burkhardt there, Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Tory MP, of course, as well. This from Susan, who says, Mike, with regard to Mandelson, when he said about Epstein being like an albatross around his neck, did he mean like a feather boa to go with his fluffy dressing gown? Also, will Mandelson get a payout, or was he actually sacked? Incredible. Angus says this: I wouldn't know how these people have chosen. Wouldn't the Foreign Secretary at the time have something to do with the appointment of ambassadors? David Lammy, his judgment needs to be looked into. And when he knew about Peter Mandelson's link with Epstein, perhaps he should resign as well. Sorry, it's John from Angus, it's not Angus. John, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, there's so many questions about the uselessness of this government and the appointment process by which Peter Mandelson even got the job. We said at the time he shouldn't be getting the job. He is by no means what you might call reliable individual, a trustworthy individual, or somebody who is free from sleaze. And so it's proved. And now he's out of a job. And now we don't have an ambassador to the United States of America, which is also really, really embarrassing. Let's talk to Robert Moran, who's a Republican strategist right here in Washington, D.C. Robert, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for talking to us. The pictures this morning on the front pages are all to do with the shooter from Utah, a man who is being sought by the FBI and law enforcement officials. It looks as though he's the man that pulled the trigger on the one bullet that was used to kill Charlie Kirk. How are things in America at the moment? Because obviously there's an incredible divide, like there is here, in terms of people on the right and people on the left.
It's not good. I mean, America's at an all-time high in terms of political polarization, and you can see that in political polling. I'm sure that we had more political polarization in the 19th century when we had even more political violence, but we have no data for that because it was before political polling. I think most thoughtful observers are concerned that this will escalate and create sort of almost tit-for-tat, copycat violence, and something that devolves into sort of gangland behavior. You know, about half of American voters have a report having a firearm at home. About 18% of Americans report dealing with social isolation and depression. And so you have the potential for a lot of sort of lone gunman activity, which I think has people rattled. But we're not really hearing the kind of full-throated response that we should get from leaders telling people to pull back from the brink. And I think it's in part because Americans don't understand what a civil war would look like today.
Yeah. And I mean, the problem is that there are an awful lot of people in America with guns, and so, you know, it can be quite a scary prospect.
Right. Yeah, about half of Americans have a firearm at home. So I think there's that issue. There's also political polling that shows that an increasing percentage of Americans feel like violence could be justified, you know, with the other side. That's not good. That's a prelude to this. And, we'll have to see what we find out about the shooter. We don't really have any sense of that yet. I think there's also a sense for the conservatives in the United States that a line has been crossed here, because they're connecting it to a pattern with the attempted Trump assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a challenge to get people to walk back from that. So I think this is a very difficult moment.
Yeah. I mean, Donald Trump called it a very dark moment for America when Charlie Kirk's death was announced and his murder was announced, and I think he was absolutely right to say that.
That's right. And
of course, there will be lots of people out there, particularly on the left, who blame Donald Trump for this, and I think unfairly, but blame him for kind of, if you like, weaponizing politics.
Well, it's interesting. When I started in politics in Washington years ago, we had opponents, but we did not have enemies.
Yeah.
That changed during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, where both parties sort of became much more agitated and started treating each other more like enemies.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. You're showing a video right now of people running for cover in an open air meeting there at the university. And I think the challenge here for your viewers is that, on any given day, when a member of Congress is at home in their constituency, they're going to have 2 to 3 major public meetings, either in large meeting halls or hotels or outside in a place like a university. And they have no security detail, none. Only the Speaker of the House or Senate Majority Leader, President, Vice President, Secretary of the Treasury, they have security detail. The average member of Congress has a driver, maybe, has an aide that's like handling paperwork while they're driving around. So there's no security. And so I think, you have a lot of people, you're hearing members of Congress say they're stepping away from wanting to do open air events. That's a very big problem in a democracy where you're supposed to be meeting the people you represent. So
I mean, we've had the same problem here, to be fair, Robert. I mean, not so much with guns, but certainly we had David Amos, who was a Conservative MP, stabbed to death in his constituency by a guy who wanted to kill him. He was a jihadi who just sort of turned up at one of his surgeries where people were going to sort of vent their problems, I mean, do you feel more in danger as an individual involved in politics these days?
It's made me think about some of the public speaking I do, to be honest. But a lot of it, will go through some kind of metal detector. But it is an interesting issue. I think if you go back and you look, CNN did this great analysis earlier today of all the political violence against major politicians or activist types since Gabby Giffords, which really kind of touched some of this off.
Yeah.
And of all of these, I think the coordinated Minnesota shootings was probably the most disturbing, because it was a more sophisticated attempt to assassinate and successfully assassinate leaders at the state level who also have very little security. And so I'm very worried that people will start looking at this and you'll get copycats. And there have been attempts to try to take the footage down of the video of the shooting to reduce the likelihood that deranged individuals would want to copy this. But I have concerns just about, my biggest concern would maybe not even be the federal level, but at the state level, where you might have a state trooper if you were the Senate president or the Speaker of the House, the legislature in Ohio or Nebraska or something like that. But everybody else is a citizen legislature. So they have their address is known and they have no protection. So I think there's some very big concerns, and I think personal security protection is going to be a sought after commodity here.
Wow.
Now.
So sad. Terrible. Robert, listen, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I don't want to say stay safe. It sounds mad, but kind of is the truth. Robert Moran, the Republican strategist. If you're involved in politics in America now, you're going to be looking over your shoulder because there are a lot of nutters. And they've got guns. And they might want to make a name for themselves, like this guy did with Charlie Kirk. Let's go look at what Nigel Farage had to say yesterday. He was in the House of Commons and he wanted to pay a tribute to Charlie.
He'd attracted the following of many millions of young Americans and indeed had a growing online presence in our country, especially after he spoke at the Oxford Union last month. I absolutely believe in free speech, but we all understand there are limits to free speech. Incitement, constant personal vilification, the use of horrendous historical images. And this is not a left-right issue. It's not a left-right debate. I think it's incumbent upon all of us, whichever side of the divide we're on, however passionately we feel, to behave with personal responsibility. And I mourn the loss of my friend.
And very wise words from Nigel there. And also the Speaker of the House, who was sitting in for Lindsay Hoyle, who was one of the Deputy Speakers, actually said, you know, welcomed what Nigel said and said thank you very much for him doing so, because actually it's quite important. And it was also then said that the House also sent their condolences and best wishes to Charlie Kirk's family. Let's get a voice note from Sean.
Morning, Mike. Sean from Grimsby here. So, with the NHS, there's another winter crisis. You know what, mate? I've been hearing this every year for years, winter crisis. And then now there's a summer crisis and an autumn crisis and a spring crisis. Like, if these doctors had spent less time telling us that there was a crisis every winter, like, and just said, look, there's a crisis all year round because the NHS is rubbish, then you get more time to spend on patients instead of pumping out this guff every year. Great show, Mike.
Sean, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, the news, of course, this morning that waiting lists have actually gone up. The number has risen under Keir Starmer. So despite what he put out as a tweet yesterday saying that they were fracturing the foundations of the NHS, it's actually getting worse. By the way, a bit of breaking news this morning. In addition to the UK economy showing zero growth in July, Prince Harry has made a surprise visit to Ukraine. Go figure. Apparently it's so dangerous in Britain, he's decided to go somewhere where there's a war on. Which is even more dangerous. Who knows what he's doing? He's going to give them some money as well? Maybe he's just travelling around the world handing out millions of pounds to see if people will be his friend. Will you be my friend? I'll give you £1 million. Yeah, all right then. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 7:44. Stuart says from Hales Owen, morning Mike, the next phase for Keir Starmer will be phased out Very much so. John from Poole says, morning, Mike, great show again. Please could you guys ensure you play that montage of flip-flop Starmer as often as possible while Donald Trump is here next week. Maybe Donald Trump will get to see what we, the common-sense Brits, have to put up with. Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. And lots of you got things to say about the NHS. Caroline says, morning, Mike. I was referred to ENT, I presume ear, nose and throat, September 2024, and still no appointment. I had a text in May and August this year explaining about the demands on the NHS, and that was why I still hadn't received an appointment. I was asked each time to text to confirm if I still wanted to be seen, to which I replied yes. I think they're hoping that people will get so fed up waiting that eventually they will give up and text back no. Love the show. Keep up the good work. Yeah, well, either that or they'll go private, which is what an awful lot of people are doing. The figures this morning, by the way, on the NHS are shocking. The waiting lists have gone up. We'll get to that in a minute. But also, breaking news, zero growth. No growth in July, which remains at 0.4%. Jamie Jenkins is here, basically. He's going to tell us why it's such a bad problem. Jamie, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Maybe one of your Friday gaffes is Reeves's management of the UK economy. Right?
Well, I mean, it's a continual problem, isn't it? You've put out some stuff this morning, some stats. 5 of the last 13 months since the election have been negative growth. 157,000 payroll jobs lost under Labour. The economy seems to be being choked with higher taxes. I've just had a message from the people that work with Liz Truss, who basically saying that it's worse than it looks, because actually there's the underlying growth figure is now in negative territory.
Yeah, it is worse than it looks, Mike, because if you think the population's growing with the immigration that we're having, so you kind of expect to get a bit of growth on top of that to make up for the fact that we've got more people in the economy. So what's going on with the figures, Mike? It's pretty much we're seeing struggling in retail trade. So the retail sales figures that we had last week were looking pretty dire as well. So the consumer-facing services is struggling in the economy. Manufacturing struggling in the economy, and what's really propping up this figure of nothing, which is zero, is pretty much government spending. So the government's borrowing money, adding to the debt, and we're seeing kind of increases in kind of health activity. We'll talk probably a second about the waiting list, but ultimately, if the government wasn't borrowing money and putting money into the economy through the spending in the public sector, the figures would be even worse than what they are today. So, this is an economy that's really struggling, and it didn't take a lot, Mike. You didn't need to do an economics degree to work out that when you do put those taxes up, and more I've tweeted this morning about choking the economy, the private sector is really struggling with the conditions the government's putting on it.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Because they see growth as kind of the only sort of method of growth, the driver of growth for them is what they call investment in public sector operations. But actually, that's not investment. It's simply taxpayers' money, which they've had to collect from us to put in to try and keep things sort of working normally. But it's not proper commercial activity. It's not generating anything.
No, and remember, you don't have a public sector without a private sector being taxed to pay for the public services. And the payroll jobs figures, Mike, that I've also put out, which we've discussed in the past. So I think we'll get another update soon on those, next week or so. So yeah, we lost 157,000 payroll jobs. So that's people paying tax into the system. But what that masks, that one figure, is the private sector is much worse than that because public sector's up. So ultimately, Mike, if we want to get the economy going, personally, I think we need to go down a lower tax route because economic theory, Mike, you put money into people's pockets, they go and spend it, creates jobs, you tax people, they don't go out, people don't go to hospitality, people have to lose jobs, and the tax burden goes up on the government paying them benefits.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that people have said to me is that the reason why Rachel Reeves has called the budget for so late in November, the 26th of November, latest ever, is because she's sort of hoping for some kind of economic miracle to happen between now and then, which will be something that is without her control, if you like. Is there any chance that anything like that could happen?
It's not going to happen, Mike. Just the figures today, they stagnate. We'd be lucky to get, 1% growth in the next few years under this Labour, government. They are struggling along. I think that the key thing that we've got to focus on, Mike, is that they said they wanted to get the economy growing. All we're getting is the small boats growing in terms of the numbers there, record numbers this year. Inflation's up. Waiting lists are up. So all those metrics that a government likes to be assessed on, the ones going in the wrong direction is the economy and jobs. And also in the wrong direction is tackling the small boats, the inflation figures. Everything is going wrong, Mike. And I just don't see why Starmer, he's had his reshuffle, probably politically damaging for him if he tried to do it, but Rachel Reeves needs moving on.
Well, we're only 12 days into the phase 2 of this government's practice, don't forget, which hasn't really been going terribly well. I can't wait for phase 3. I don't know what's going to happen.
Phase 3, Mike, will just be more doom and gloom. I think the problem you've got, I think, with the cabinet is how many of them have actually done real jobs in the real private sector where you generate that wealth for the economy. It's just, you cannot continue with this tax and spend policy, because if you just continue with that, it's just going to keep stifling that growth. Now, it made no sense to put the national insurance hike up in, Mike, because what that's done is you've seen business investment has fallen when we looked at the latest GDP figures recently as well. So if businesses are investing less, that's going to really stifle growth overall. And if you put taxes on business like the jobs tax, people cut jobs. So, I don't know who's advising Rachel Reeves, and I know Starmer's now brought these economic advisors into the number 10 as well, but those advisors as well, I think they're more tax and spend. Where are the economic advisors going for this more low tax economy? It's not there, Mike.
No, it really isn't good. Jamie, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Our favourite statistician, of course, Jamie Jenkins there, reporting into us from Welsh Wales. Let's get a quick voice note from Lee.
Morning, Mike. Lee from Chelmsford. Starmer is absolutely useless. I mean, what a bad judge of character this guy is. Lammy's been moved, Cooper's been moved, Eagle's been moved, the fake solicitor's been moved, Free Bed Rayner, she's gone, Mandelson's now gone. I think you'll find once Donald Trump's got this state visit out of the way, you're going to see exactly what he thinks about Keir Starmer over the next few months, because he must think he's a right plonker. Anyway, all the best, Mike.
It's pathetic, isn't it? You can't quite believe it. I mean, we'll run through the changes as we go. I mean, I keep wanting to try and find a space to do it. We haven't done it yet. But, you talk about Angela Rayner, you talk about Mandelson, you talk about Tulip Sadiq, you talk about Louise Haigh, you talk about all manner of calamities that have happened to all the people that he's appointed. And, of course, not forgetting the homelessness minister who got sacked because she made some people homeless. Brilliant. We're going to talk NHS coming next.
Of course, he's now become a very authoritarian prime minister, which, and of course, isn't it funny when Nigel anecdotally aligns Starmer to Kim Jong-un? Of course, he was slaughtered by that by the BBC and the mainstream mess.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to nearly 5 minutes to 8. Time is absolutely flying, isn't it? I don't know where it's all going. We've got lots and lots to talk about, including the NHS this morning. We've been asking you for your stories about your experiences. The news breaking this morning is that NHS waiting lists have actually gone up, believe it or not, since the Starmer government got in. It turns out the rise has gone from 7.37 million to 7.4 million because of doctor strikes, hospitals, waiting lists and A&E scenarios all going in the wrong direction. And also, of course, we saw a story earlier this week that said that 2 GP surgeries are closing every week right now because of the way that the NHS is failing people in this country. We're going to talk now to Dr. Samia Aziz, NHS commentator and GP. Dr. Samia, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice,
good morning.
Nice to see you. I mean, there's a story out as well that says that the government's flagship NHS policy is kind of at odds with what people want. You know, people want to be able to access a GP. People want to be able to see the specialist when they get recommended to go and see one. But it doesn't. There's a sort of logjam going on. It's not really happening, is it?
What I would say, in all fairness to the government, there have been lots of changes in general practice. All you tend to hear about are the negatives, that you can't get an appointment. But in actual fact, there are lots of positives we've implemented into general practice. The underlying problem is recruitment of GPs. Now, what we have to understand that we are short of GPs. GPs are leaving. GPs are retiring early because of exhaustion, burnout. You know, it's just too much for them. So we can't create extra appointments for patients if we don't have the GPs.
But the government keep telling us they've told us they've made 5 million extra appointments. So, but the people that I speak to go, yeah, they make appointments and then they cancel them. You don't actually see anyone.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I would say there are lots of systems available at the moment. It's not just that 8 a.m. scramble to get an appointment. We have lots of different methods of patients getting access to GPs. They can sort of do e-consultations, online apps now where you can apply, you can call in, it's triaged. But as I mentioned, we only have a limited amount of appointments. We don't have enough doctors to fulfill those appointments. And obviously it depends on demand. In certain inner city areas, the demand is far more. So we can't outsource them to any other places. You've got other we have to understand there are lots of multidisciplinary teams now that are helping offload some of the GP work. For example, we've got pharmacies, so patients can actually go and see pharmacists if they are under.
But those are not appointments. I guess what I'm asking you is, if Keir Starmer keeps saying that we've made 5 million more appointments, where are they? Appointments with who?
We can't generate appointments. This is what I'm trying to say.
He says he's generated 5 million appointments, though.
Yeah, but I can't
that's not true.
I can't vouch for what the government is saying, but certainly I can say from a perspective of the GP surgery, we are opening all our appointments. We are triaging them appropriately. We are seeing patients. Patients are being seen via telephone consultations, video consultations. So there aren't GPs sitting down having cups of tea. GPs are working to the max. And unfortunately, that's all we tend to hear. Patients are unable to get appointments. But I know certainly in my surgery, I've never sat down and had empty appointments. And unfortunately, the other thing we see is people do DNA. They don't attend their appointments. So there are many missed appointments. And so we have to factor.
What would you say in your practice? What's the kind of percentage of people who do that?
Well, it depends. We've got a very diverse population, so certain patients might not turn up because of language barriers. I would say possibly about 25% at times, at the best of times.
Why would people not turn up because of language? I mean, presumably they've made the appointment, right?
Well, there might be many reasons why they don't turn up, childcare reasons, but, you know, they don't inform us beforehand. So we end up sitting there waiting. We're already running late in a surgery, and then we've got patients who don't turn up. So we have to contact them, we have to remind them they have to make another appointment. So these are wasted appointments, essentially, whereas they could have been seen. Sometimes they're double appointments. These patients are given double appointments. So once again, you know, that other double appointment could have been offered to someone else, possibly.
Yeah,
so
sounds a bit chaotic, to be honest.
It is. I would never say general practice is not straightforward. It's not necessarily chaotic, but that's the way it's run, and that's the way it's been running for years. But as I say, there are lots of other places patients can go to. You know, they can call 111, and then they will certainly get an appointment with a GP, because it's sort of triage to the general practices. They can go and see a pharmacist for certain things. Patients do not always need to come and see a GP for specific things.
I'm sorry to be banging on about it. I don't want to be a broken record. I don't know where these 5 million appointments are coming from, because it sounds like to me that they're being made at all. It sounds rubbish, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are maximising the amount of appointments. There are no more appointments. What we ideally need to do is recruit more doctors. We have opened new medical schools, but that's slowly in progress. We are trying to train up junior doctors. However, I would say we can't generate appointments if there are no appointments.
No, I get that. It's an interesting word, appointment, isn't it? Dr. Samir Aziz, thank you very much indeed. Let's have a look at what Starmer says about the appointment situation.
We're happily going to go to our constituents. We're going to tell them we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments, and we delivered 4 million extra appointments.
No, you didn't. You just didn't. There's no more appointments. You just heard it from a doctor. You can't generate appointments out of nowhere. So how have you generated 4 million of them? You might as well say we've generated zero growth. That at least would be true. You haven't generated any more appointments. Absolute plank. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to speak to Layla Cunningham, a Westminster City Councillor for Reform. We're going to also run through the list of the numbers of people that Keir Starmer has stood by and said they're absolutely safe in their job shortly before sacking them. It's 1 minute past 8. This is Morning Glory. See you in a minute. We've been talking this morning about a new theme park which is going to be built. The Universal Studios apparently are going to build it in Bedfordshire. We've been asking many of you to give us some ideas for theme parks. Alison in South Wales says in the new theme park at 5 p.m. every day they could have the PIP parade. All the people driving their brand new Motability cars.
Instead of the water rapids, you can have a road you go down that's full of potholes in a car with bad suspension and flat tyres. I don't know why they're bothering building a theme park in this country. They're going right, no one will be able to afford to go to it anyway.
How about the Rachel Reeves ride, says Terry in Birmingham. You go round and round and vanish up your own deficit. It's the HS2 ride. It travels at high speed for 10 feet, where everyone gets off and into the replacement bus ride. Tickets are £50 if bought 5 months in advance, or £1,000 on the day.
There's a strong rumour going around that Rachel Reeves is going to have a kissing booth for this theme park. So what I'll do, mate, I'll shove a £5 in the pot and you can go and fill your boots.
Thank you very much indeed, and very generous of you. One from G, who says fast-track entry to every ride for illegals, plus a free night stay in the park's hotel and free food. New theme park bumper cars will have to pay a congestion charge, and the funhouse isn't built yet, despite Angela Rayner's pledge to build houses. What about Ghost Train doesn't move because the driver's on strike? Have a good day. This is brilliant for the theme park. How about grow your own cannabis farm? Yeah, that's a good one. An Ethiopian safari park narrated by Angela Rayner. Says Gary in Durham. How about that? This sums up the Labour Party to me. The one idea they have to improve growth for the economy is to basically have a bloody big fun fair. It's the type of idea primary school children would pitch, given 10 minutes to come up with something. Well, it turns out, Matt, in Royston, that it's not even their idea. And they're now trying to claim it's their idea, even though it was actually the Tories.
They have done brilliantly on breakfast, but you know on Drive you've done brilliantly as well. Downhill slide rides surrounded by ULEZ cameras so that people are fined on exit. Love it. You could have a Birmingham-themed Whack the Rat stall. If you whack the rat, you can have your bin emptied for free. On the Labour theme park, a house of mirrors where they're all boarded up because they can't bear to look themselves in the eye.
I've got a great one for you, mate.
This is for the is this for the Universal theme park run by Labour?
Moat right around the park.
Yeah.
With loads of dinghies. Call it the channel and say anyone who can break in, all is free.
Imagine a Scouser say you can break into a theme park for free.
Hi, Jeremy. Hey, it's simple. You've got the Labour
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to a very nearly 5 minutes past 8. The sun is up, the sky looks reasonably blue. It looks like quite a nice day, actually, quite sunny. Don't know what the weather is going to be doing over the weekend, but we're told, we think, that it's going to be a bit stormy, a bit windy. Because we are now, as Keir Starmer says, into the autumn of our discontent, because he said officially when he launched the phase 2 of his government like 11 days ago, he said the summer is officially over, and he said how excited he was about phase 2. Unfortunately, since then, he's lost his Deputy Prime Minister, the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, the Minister for Housing, Communities and Levelling Up, and of course he's currently now without an ambassador to the United States of America, because Peter Mandelson has been fired, despite the fact that only on Wednesday the Prime Minister said this.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Yeah, not anymore he's not. He's been fired. So he's not playing any role in the US-UK relationship. And the fact that Keir Starmer has full confidence in him has made people feel a little bit twitchy. And MPs are now, even from his own side, asking the question, what sort of judgment have you got exactly? Because you've hired all these people, all of whom have turned out to complete duds. And you've now had to get rid of them 2 days after saying that you had full confidence in them. Not very good, is it? Not very good at all. Meanwhile, of course, on the front pages, we've also got the news that there's a picture now made public of the shooter, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk in the neck and murdered him just a couple of days ago in Utah at an event at a university campus. Is this the man who fired the killer bullet? That says the front page of the Daily Mail. And the face of evil is what it says on the front page of the Sun. Cops last night released a chilling picture of a man linked to the assassination of free speech champion Charlie Kirk. And of course, Harry Cole's written a great piece in the Sun as well today, all about why Charlie Kirk's name will go down in the annals of history as a man who stood for freedom, a man who stood for debate, a man who stood for tolerance, and a man who stood for conservative values. He's now no longer alive, I'm afraid, killed by a man who apparently, it would appear, somehow managed to get his trans message onto some of the bullets that were found in his possession, which is even more disturbing. And basically now the question is, what will happen to America? Will it become an even more violent place? Will there be more retribution? Will there be more killings? Will there be more shootings? We heard from one of our guests earlier in the show that about half of the population of America have guns in their own homes. And a lot of people are not frightened to use them either. Also, the other story that we're doing this morning, NHS waiting lists have actually gone up under Keir Starmer, so forget about all these extra appointments he claims to have made, 4 million of them. There's a new surge, 7.4 million people now on various waiting lists at the NHS trying to get treatment. It's absolutely extraordinary stuff. 0344 499 1000 is the number. This, of course, is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. We just spoke in the last hour as well to a doctor who didn't make much sense to me, to be honest. How about this from Helena, who says, Mike, at my surgery, all the GPs are now part-time, and some of that is working from home. GPs are retiring early because they can afford to, despite working part-time. Ergo, they are overpaid and underworked. By the way, I'm still on a waiting list to go on a waiting list since my June 18th consultation for surgery. Well, this is the problem. you know, when you talk to ordinary people, you get a very different view of the way the NHS works than the way it actually works. Here's one from Charlie, who says, Mike, the NHS, if they get a no-show, they call someone else back who called earlier and get them in. It's not difficult. Blame anyone for their failure. They're burnt out. Give me strength. Bill in Cheshire says, NHS, I'm 72. I've paid tax for 45 years. Apart from dentistry, I've never used the NHS for anything major. Now I need it. I get nothing. I have to pay for a private dentist. I'm sick of having been 26 plus weeks on a waiting list for a hernia op, so I'm raiding my limited savings to do it privately. Thanks, NHS. You are totally useless. I think that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, people talk about the NHS being under pressure, being under-resourced. They get 200 billion bleeding pounds a year. How can they be under-resourced? Now, just before we talk to Layla Cunningham, Westminster City Councillor for Reform UK, let's give you a couple of bits of breaking news. The UK economy recorded zero growth in July. Well done, Rachel Reeves. So it remains at 0.4%, absolutely no growth at all. And Prince Harry's made a surprise visit to Ukraine, because obviously not content with being in the very dangerous part of the world that is Britain, he's decided to go even more dangerous where there's a war on. Now, just before, as I say, we talked to Layla, Peter Mandelson was dismissed yesterday from his job as UK ambassador to the US. Now, some people are asking me the question, does it mean when they say he's been withdrawn that he still gets a government salary? I don't know the answer to that. We'll try and find out whether he's still employed. But let's have a look to what Keir Starmer has said in the past about various other people that he had in his employ in the cabinet, but who he then had to have a problem with. This is him talking in November last year about Louise Haigh, Secretary of State for Transport.
Mr. Speaker, the previous Transport Secretary was right when further information came forward to resign. What a marked contrast to behaviour in the last 14 years.
Yeah, what a marked contrast. You had a fraudster working for the Department of Transport. How unusual. Why did you appoint her? You knew she was a fraudster. In January, here's what he said about Tulip Siddiq.
Mr. Speaker, the former City Minister referred herself the independent advisor. He found, as she well knows, there was no breach of the code. He knows that he found there was no wrongdoing, and the former minister fully cooperated. She referred herself a week ago Monday. I got the report yesterday, and she resigned yesterday afternoon.
So she resigned, even though there was no breach of the code. Let's have a look at September, shall we? Angela Rayner.
Do you believe that Angela Rayner can stay in post, given the mistake that she's now acknowledged with stamp duty?
Yes, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that.
Yeah, she's out of a job as of about this time last week, actually. No, about midday last Friday, I think it was. And finally, this week, Keir Starmer has full confidence in my Lord Mandelson.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Yeah, not anymore he isn't, because he's been sacked. So he's no longer playing an important role in the relationship between the UK and the US. I mean, how useless are these people? Let's talk to Layla Cunningham, Westminster City Councillor at Reform UK, of course. Layla, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. It's like a splitting image show, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's literally, I don't even have to write this stuff. It's like comedy all of its own. It's ridiculous. How awful and useless is Keir Starmer? Even his own MPs are now wondering how long he can last.
I think the country is, I mean, what has it been, 14 months?
Yeah.
8 ministers, 1 ambassador, 1 trade envoy. Starmer, you know, he came on steps and promised integrity, and what's he delivered? He's delivered a cabinet with a fraudster who lied to the police about a stolen phone, a corruption fraud, tax dodging, and a US ambassador who is best mates, PT, what's his nickname? PT Bathrobe, as our ambassador.
Yeah, yum.
I mean, what's he doing? It just shows, actually, that it's run by cronies who really don't care.
No.
He's not fussed about public opinion. He just doesn't care.
I mean, surely they can't... His judgment... If his judgment is this bad, how did he even get a job you know, as a lawyer, never mind running the CPS. I mean, you have worked as a prosecutor, I believe, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's not an easy job to do. You have to be relatively clever to be a decent prosecutor. He appears to have none of the skills that every lawyer that I know has.
I think power corrupts, actually, perhaps, what we're seeing. You know, he's high on his power, because this isn't just bad luck, Mike, it's a pattern. You know, Peter Mandelson, called a convicted paedophile, one of the most prolific ones in our modern history, his best pal. And I think Starmer called Mandelson his political mentor. That's Labour's circle of trust right there.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know, and let's be clear, they weren't just mates. I mean, from the letters and the emails, it seems like Peter Mandelson was his sycophant.
Absolutely.
And how, you know what I find really insulting is Starmer's like, oh, well, you know, security didn't flag it up. I had nothing to do with the vetting. This is it's the most important diplomatic foreign policy appointment for our country. Of course he had everything to do with it. He interviewed him. He should have been in the detail completely. So I'm just tired of them trying to deflect blame on some department or some quango. You know, we had no idea.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, as you say, it's one of the highest high-profile, you know, sort of high security operations to be the ambassador to the United States of America. You know, he will have access to very, very sensitive documents. He will have access to all manner of sensitive pieces of information, and it's sort of incredible to me that they didn't know about all of this so-called new information before they gave him the job. And it turns out this morning that in the papers we're being told that the intelligence parts of the Foreign Office actually warned Starmer that he shouldn't give him the job, and he went ahead and gave it to him anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So for me, the resignation of Angela Rayner, of Mandelson, it doesn't wipe the slate clean, just saying sorry and resigning. No. There is a deeper rot in that party where corruption, you know, scandal is just covered up.
Yeah.
And we have to, you know, Starmer has to answer questions. I think he needs to be questioned. What did he know? Because number one, he ruins our diplomatic relations with the US, because what I've read is that, and what I've heard, is that they knew in the US of his connections.
Yeah, of course. And it's a very sensitive subject in the US, given that you know, Donald Trump's been linked with a friendship that he had with Jeffrey Epstein, and so you know, it's all highly embarrassing.
Mike, can you imagine what Labour would do if a Reform person had those connections?
Oh yeah.
But they ever would, or a Conservative, they would lose their mind.
Yeah.
They would call for them to be ostracised and not put on a plane to be our ambassador to the USA.
Right.
The double standards, I find Labour, you know, they're always giving us a masterclass in double standards.
Yeah, it is incredible.
One rule for them and one rule for us.
Exactly. But also, there's just the incompetence, and the level of sheer incompetence is staggering, isn't it? And, you know, he's now changed his cabinet around. He's had a little bit of a reshuffle. So he's put all these different people in charge of things that they don't know what they're doing. They've come from jobs which they didn't know what they were doing either. You know, I mean, we've got James Cleverly now this morning saying that he's not even sure that Starmer will last until Christmas.
I don't know. How can he? So he already has, I think 50 MPs wrote to him to ask for Mandelson's resignation. How can those 50 MPs have any trust in their leader when that's what he does?
Yeah.
But what's really, I think, erodes trust even more is that he only sacked him when the leaks became explosive.
Right.
He only sacked Rayner when he was forced to.
Yeah.
That's not leadership. That's just damage control.
That's true. And that is his MO. I mean, that's why we played those clips out at the start of the hour. That, you know, his whole kind of modus operandi is to wait until the absolute last minute when things can't possibly get any worse and he has to get rid of people. You know, in every single case of every resignation, all the way back to Louise Haigh back in, you know, November of last year, he has never acted, you know, sort of swiftly.
And he's never acted proactively. He's always been defensive, so only when it's found out. And for me, that's not leadership. You know, if you really, as he says, put party before country, then you wouldn't have appointed these people in the first time. Obviously someone's been good to him, voted for him, and that's the problem. We have politicians who give senior roles to govern our country to mates and people who gave them favour. They don't value merit. It's got nothing to do with merit, and that's why our country's in the way it is.
Yeah, I'm reading a piece in the Telegraph.
It's refreshing to hear someone like Nigel say they don't have to be MPs, because these are massive roles with massive briefs that have massive consequences for our country. It can't be done because you voted for me. It can't be done as a favour or, you know, as a thank you note.
No, I think that's right. I'm reading a piece of the Telegraph which has just been put out, which says that Morgan McSweeney, Keir Starmer's chief of staff in Downing Street, is the one responsible for an awful lot of this, that he was actually the guy who, in the middle of the week, said that Peter Mandelson must be defended. He said, we can't get rid of him, we've got to keep him on. He was the one that pushed for him to be appointed in the first place. You know, I think there's time to ask a lot of questions about this guy, Morgan McSweeney, and what role he's got in government and why he has so much influence over the Prime Minister.
Anyone involved in this should be looked at, but I don't want to deflect blame from Starmer.
Yeah.
He's the leader. He makes the final decision. You know, we have one minister that lied about a mobile phone theft.
Yes.
I mean, how dishonest can you be? Another over stamp duty, another over WhatsApp slurs, another was linked to a land deal in Bangladesh and has a corruption trial. And you know what's really funny is that she, as I'm sure most people know, she was the corruption minister. The other woman who was the homeless minister, not that she had, I don't think it was illegal, but she kicked someone out only to increase the rent. It's just, what's he doing? What, you know, I don't think his position is tenable anymore, especially if the country's not doing well. I'd understand if we were, as you said, there was zero growth, taxes are going to go up, crime is rampant, borders are... if we were doing well, then perhaps we could overlook it, but we're not. So you can't have weak leadership, corruption, and a country that's not doing well.
No.
His position's untenable. I mean, we might be bailed out by the IMF, and then how's he going to stand up to his backbenchers when they ask for spending cuts?
I think we just might as well admit now that he's toast and he just needs to figure out an exit strategy.
The problem is there's no one else who's any better, I think.
No, that's true. But then once you chase him out, then you can chase them all out, I think.
Yeah.
You know? That would be my strategy.
I mean, listen, even when he was elected, I had some hope because he stood up there and he gave this speech about integrity and honesty.
What a load of old cobblers that turned out to be.
Complete rubbish.
Yeah.
Complete rubbish. They took it, and it was immediate. You know, the Lord Ali, the concert tickets, the football tickets, the sponsored parties. They didn't waste any time.
Well, do you know what's interesting is that Lord Ali is the thread that joins together the Starmer government and the Blair government. Because Lord Ali was somebody who was very close to Peter Mandelson. Peter Mandelson used to talk about when he was in charge of business back in the sort of early part of the century. He used to go to Lord Ali's house down in Kent, where he would work on strategy for the government. So, you know, this route goes all the way back there.
Yeah, that's what I said. You know, you have tax dodgers, paedophiles' best friends, and political mentors in Mandelson to Starmer. That's the circle of trust. That's what we're dealing with. And let's not forget, there's another minister, didn't he have to resign because of racist, anti-Semitic, sexist messages on the ministerial WhatsApp group? How does that fly under the radar? Or is that just culture that is within Labour right now?
It's
who
an
are
absolute,
they? We don't know who they are, really.
shambles.
Yeah, we don't know who they are. And then they look like, wasn't it one of their ministers who said that talking about the rape gangs was dog whistling?
Yeah. Well, that was Lucy Powell, who's about to become the new deputy leader.
And then we're supposed to just forget that? How dare she? She should get fired for just saying that.
Exactly.
But no, it's looked over. Everything's fine. We get arrested for a tweet. A comedian gets found with 5 armed police as he comes out of a place. But she can call talking about rape gangs dog whistle and gets away with it.
I know. Absolutely shocking. Layla, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Layla Cunningham there, Westminster City Councillor for Reform UK. Let's get a voice note from Andy on Mandelson.
Oh, Mandy, I came and I caught you with Epstein. So Starmer sent you away, oh, Mandy.
Very good. It is Friday. Why not? We can have a bit of fun, can't we? How about this from Matt in Shropshire? I think the real reason why Conservatives and Reform are not calling for him to resign or a general election is that neither are ready for government, so the general public are stuck in this cycle of doom. Well, certainly Nigel Farage said up at Reform Conference last weekend that 2027 is when he says that they should be prepared for an election. Jack in Gravesend says that doctor just said many cancelled appointments due to the language barrier. He then called her out on that, and then the response changed to, well, it's childcare. Honestly, I know. I wasn't satisfied really with that particular interview. I didn't really learn anything. I didn't get the sense that I was being told the truth, which I hate. It's 8:23.
front of the car,
Yeah.
driving down the street, and you've got to click a mouse when you see a developing hazard. So you see something moving ahead that, if you're driving, you may have to slow down for.
Right, okay.
You click the mouse as it's developing. So that's what that is.
So, even if it's a cyclist?
Well, if it could be a potential hazard to you, yeah. If you see a cyclist going down the road who may need to, I don't know, swerve to avoid a pothole, then that becomes a potential hazard.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Here's another great story for you, right? 8:26 this morning. Nearly 3 million people are claiming universal credit for health-related conditions, right? That's up from 2.1 million last year. So that's almost a third of an increase. 2.9 million people in the 12 months to June receiving the benefit for illness or disability. Brilliant. Fantastic. Meanwhile, a couple of other things to spot on social media for you this morning. There's some MP called Rosie Writing, MP, who I've never heard of, who's apparently a Labour MP. She's delighted to have been appointed as PPS, that's Parliamentary Private Secretary, to the Department of Health and Social Care with Wes Streeting. There's a picture of her with Wes Streeting. And she looks like a relatively pleasant young woman. However, she says, with Labour, we're already making progress on getting the NHS back on its feet, delivering more appointments and cutting waiting lists. I'm so pleased to be able to play a role in supporting the fantastic ministerial team. Well, sorry. This was put out yesterday, right? The figure that we've got today on the waiting list, she says, delivering more appointments and cutting waiting lists. The waiting lists are going up. That's what it says here. This is NHS England's CEO, Sir Jim Mackay. He told MPs yesterday that the financial and other effects of the walkouts that the doctors did have put material pressure on the waiting list, and now they've gone up, right? They've gone up from 7.37 million to 7.4 million. That's 30,000 of an increase, plus who knows what will happen in the next 6 months' time if we have continued industrial action, is what he says. So how are you bringing waiting lists down? They've gone up. And the appointments speak for themselves. We know that the appointments actually aren't going anywhere because people make appointments and they get cancelled. People make appointments, they don't get seen. It's ridiculous. How about this? It's Friday, gaff-prone Friday. So, I mean, sometimes we just say these are not necessarily deliberate gaffes, but these are gaffes. Here's Keir Starmer, defending Angela Rayner at PMQs last week.
In relation to the Deputy Prime Minister, she has explained her personal circumstances in detail. She's gone over and above in setting out the details, including Mr. Speaker, yesterday afternoon, asking a court to lift a confidentiality order in relation to her own son. She has now referred herself to the independent adviser. That is the right thing to do. But I can be clear, I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working-class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Yeah, what's wrong with coming in a working-class background, Keir? Does it mean that you're an idiot or something? You know, why should we be surprised that she's become Deputy Prime Minister? Of course, 2 days after that, she resigned because the independent ethics advisor said that she'd broken the ministerial guidelines, and now she's out of a job because she's a crook. In some people's estimation, anyway. Certainly she didn't adhere to the rules that she should have done. By the way, Keir Starmer's first tweet of the day's gone out. Went out about 23 minutes ago. And if you can make any sense of this, you're a better man than I am. He says, my first duty as Prime Minister is to keep our country safe. How's that going? Our deal with Google Cloud will use tech to strengthen secure communication links between the UK and the US. Yeah, we have to use Google Cloud now because we haven't got an ambassador, right? And then he goes, protecting us against threats, supporting jobs and bringing investment to Britain. How? I mean, just stop gaslighting everybody with this nonsense, right? Here's Steve Reed. Apparently he's now building homes around Britain as well. I wonder how many. Have a look.
And to get the key to home ownership in your hand, I will unleash the biggest era of house building in our country's history. Let's build, baby, build.
Build, baby, build what, exactly? Is that what's Angela Rayner been doing? I thought she was building houses. Are you saying she hasn't built any? Are you saying that nothing's happened? That not 1.5 million houses have been built? Because that's what we were told by the Prime Minister. It's all just a tissue of lies, isn't it? It's all just a house built on sand. If you buy a house that's built by Labour, I wouldn't live in it, to be honest, because it will probably subside within about 2 weeks. Let's talk to Vinay Kapoor, spokesperson for the Free Speech Union. Vinay, very good morning to you.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good to talk to you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm getting a bit sick of the lies coming out of this government now, I have to say, but perhaps we'd better leave that for another day. Obviously, we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and the terrible events in Utah this week, and they're still looking for the guy that killed him. There is a kind of sense, even in this country, that there's a polarisation, isn't there, of people's points of view about this. I find it hard to believe that there are people in the world who think it's a good thing that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And what are you finding?
Yeah, I mean, everyone at the Free Speech Union is obviously incredibly saddened, like the majority of people in this country. I think in the world, such an unexpected tragedy, the way it was done. And obviously we send our condolences, all of us from across all our Free Speech Unions in other countries as well, in Free Speech Union International. And as you say, you know, there are people who are celebrating this. We've seen this on X, read it in the Daily Mail this morning, and obviously I don't think that's the way forward. I think the way forward is to transcend our resentment that I think a lot of people have right now, and just to realize that there's a human element to all this. You know, politics is a dirty game sometimes. There are different opinions. You're not always going to agree, but to celebrate death, I think that goes a bit too far, to put it very lightly.
No, absolutely right. No question at all. And the rhetoric that comes from the left in particular, I mean, we saw it this week with John McDonnell talking about Nigel Farage, likening him to Adolf Hitler, and using that kind of really, you know, negative, nasty, horrible, ghastly rhetoric where, you know, they sort of paint anyone who doesn't agree with them as somehow evil, as some kind of, you know, force that needs to be wiped out. And that's, you know, unfortunately in America, I've been talking to people this morning in America who say, you know, this could get a lot worse.
Yeah, and I think that's the tragedy. I think what it shows, especially from a free speech point of view, why free speech has never been more important, especially if we may, and hopefully not, we may now be living in a world where things like this happen. You know, it shows that it's never been more important to debate. We need to settle our differences in the battle of ideas, not in other ways that lead to people's deaths and to physical harm being done. So I think we reiterate the call for people to get around the table, debate, disagree with people you don't agree with. That's the beauty of free speech. That's the beauty of living in a liberal democracy. And if we don't do that, then we risk horrible things happening. And that's genuinely tragic, I think, because, as I said, because of the human element of all this. So we should debate more and we should discuss more. And that's obviously what we're trying to campaign to do at the Free Speech Union with all our work.
And that was very much what Charlie Kirk was all about. I mean, you know, he started his career as a guy who would go to college campuses when he wasn't even a student, and just put a table down with a sign that said, "Debate me."
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of what Charlie Kirk did, is he was a man who would go with his opinions, and his opinions, you know, were controversial. People didn't like them, but that was the point, because he would go head on to the places where a lot of these issues have come up, where a lot of people think free speech isn't happening at universities, and to go and challenge them, and more importantly, to listen to them, to debate them, and then everyone would come away learning something, and that's the beauty of it. And obviously he had this whole tour planned. You know, very sadly now that's not going to be able to happen. And again, I think those are the ways to win people's minds, to change people's opinions on both sides, to debate and to discuss. And obviously that's the beauty of what he did, and we very much praise it at the Free Speech Union.
Of course. Let's have a look at Donald Trump last night, who awarded Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd.
Yeah, it's a very shocking event that happened this week, and it's going to be interesting to see how America kind of copes with it, really.
Yeah, indeed. I think, from the point of view of the Americans, we might think we have it bad in the UK, but, there are worse things you could say going on there. And I think, the country's polarized itself so much. There was the attempted assassination on Trump. There were other assassinations on Trump, other killings of political figures. And I think it shows why it's never been more important to have freedom of speech. It's never been more important to debate. It's never been more important, as I said, to get around a table and discuss, not just because of other factors, but because it could lead to things like this if we don't do it. And I think this should be a wake-up call for the liberal world to say, actually, this is going too far. We need to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Vinay, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Vinay Kapoor, spokesperson of the Free Speech Union. This from Steve. He says, morning, Mike. Great show. I've just had to wait 18 months for a broken wisdom tooth to be removed. I've had a bone scan recently. It's a 9-month wait for the results. I've glaucoma eye problem, and it's a 6-month wait to be seen. I need a cyst removing, and I'm on a waiting list for a clinic that doesn't have any dates for when it will be held. Crikey. Doesn't sound good, Steve. You might as well go to Bangkok or somewhere. Dan from Wiltshire says, morning, Mike, great show. Could Keir Starmer now show his full confidence in Ed Miliband, please? That would be good. Let's hope that Keir says he has full confidence in Rachel Reeves this week, so she will be gone soon as well, says another Steve. It is incredible, isn't it? And Neil says, Mike, my other half waited 5 years for major pancreatic surgery. She had the op in April, and we're still waiting on a follow-up to make sure it went OK. I give up. Cracking Friday show as ever. Blimey. Let's get a voice note from Matt.
Mike, Matt in Hove here. Is Lord Mandelson honestly expecting the public to believe that his relationship with a convicted paedophile was innocent and that he was hoodwinked and lied to, and it's always, oh, poor Mandelson got lied to, and he didn't really want to be his friend, but because Jeffrey said he was innocent, and I believed him, and I deeply regret it. You were writing almost love letters to him. You've got a picture of you on the veranda in a dressing gown, practically got your meat and 2 veg hanging out. You're looking out yonder, out a balcony window, wishing for him to come back to the island while you're stood there in your underpants. The geezer is a wrong 'un, and so was Epstein, the pair of them.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I have to go back to that scene from Casablanca. I'm shocked to find gambling going on here, says Inspector Renault. And the guy goes, here's your winnings, Your Excellency. Oh, thank you very much. How did you not know he was a paedophile? He was in prison for sex crime, for procuring child prostitutes when Mandelson stayed at his house. But he didn't know, apparently, that he was a bad guy. I mean, it's knocked me down with a feather. And these people think we're idiots, don't they? I mean, Starmer clearly is one, because he didn't think it was a problem. Idiot. It's 8:39.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory to 8 to 41. We're here till 10 o'clock, of course. Now, what a disaster this lot are, says Christine. I'm really starting to think the damage and destruction is deliberate, because they cannot all be that stupid, surely. Oh, no, I wouldn't bank on it. Morning, Mike, says Alison in South Wales. Looking forward to planks later. I guess we know who will be crowned, even though you try so hard not to give it to Sir Flip-Flop. I know, it's not always easy. This one from Rachel. My friend had fertility tests yesterday and was told that it will be a year before the doctor can sit down and talk through the results. Why? Why is it a year? What's going on? For heaven's sake. I mean, also, you know, on the subject of the NHS, we got that story this morning about the doctor who decided, strangely, while he was in the midst of an operation, a keyhole surgery operation, that he would take a comfort break, and he went next door to have sex with a nurse. I mean, you know, Steve says, was that surgeon practicing his keyhole surgery? P.S. I've had 5 appointments to see a back surgeon, and they've all been cancelled. Sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just ridiculous. What's wrong with them? Anyway, Susan Hall's here, a London Assembly member and former Conservative London mayoral candidate, of course, because we've got things to talk to with her about the tube strikes. I think the tube strike finally ended last night, I hope, but I don't know whether things have returned to normal. Susan, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning.
My goodness me, this government is bad, isn't it? I mean, it's about as bad as I can ever remember any government being in the history of time.
Oh, my God, it's bad, and bad so quickly, isn't it? I mean, like some of your viewers or listeners, wanting to express confidence in the wonderful Ed Miliband. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Because that will mean that he'll go, and God help us all with that man. He's costing us.
That would help, wouldn't it? I mean, but meanwhile, what about Sadiq Khan? I mean, he's as bad as he ever has been. I mean, he's basically given up talking to the unions, and he's supposed to be their friend, isn't he?
Oh, in truth, he's nobody's friend, is he? I mean, he should be your plank of the week on a permanent basis, I think. Just alternate him between him and Keir Starmer, and that would do nicely. I mean, he always said that there would be no strikes under him, and there's been 149, and he goes on about Boris Johnson, but Boris Johnson had 35. I mean, 149 strikes. Those of us that work in London or live in London know how dreadful this week has been.
It's been awful, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And yesterday at Mayor's Question Time, he said he shared the frustration of everyone whose journey has been disrupted this week.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a load of nonsense. He's driven around the whole time. 2 Range Rovers or whatever. He parks outside the back of City Hall, which, by the way, I was determined to get in, although it's so far away from me, City Hall. I was determined to get in for Mayor's Question Time. Asked if I could park out the back of the building because there's so much space. Right. And I was denied. Of course, the mayor can park there, traders can park there, but no, they wouldn't let me park
That's
there.
ridiculous. That is absolutely bonkers. We got a little clip, I think, for you. This is him being quizzed about the strikes.
Mayor, you said when you became mayor you were going to be the mayor of zero strikes. I think we've passed that point. Can you tell me, what have you done, Mr Mayor, prior to this strike and during the strike in relation to meeting with people of influence to try and avert this strike, please?
Well, the Mayor will be aware that he's on record as criticising me when I intervene in strike action. I think the words he uses is ill-judged for the Mayor to personally intervene. I'm slightly confused. Is he criticising the Mayor for not personally intervening?
I'm just wondering whether you've, while it's taken you 9 years to take my advice. And I'm flattered, of course, that you actually started to listen. I appreciate that.
What's wrong with him? Why can't he just answer the question?
Oh, he never answers any question. I mean, what my colleague Keith Prince was more or less intimating, I mean, at the last strikes, he threw 30 million at them. Out of the blue, 30 million came. And of course, without any restrictions or anything
conditions,
on that, no conditions whatsoever, which was ludicrous. And I think it took TfL negotiators by surprise. And that's what he was alluding to there. But I mean, we're in a situation where tube drivers are on £72,000 and are being told it's not enough. We're being told that they want to go down to a 32-hour week and that they don't like starting at 4 in the morning or finishing at 11. Well, then don't do the job. There's lots of other people out there, although, of course, what they do is they restrict who can apply to be a tube driver. There are so many other train drivers across the country that would give anything for that job. If you don't want to do a job, don't do it.
Right.
Walk away, do a different job. Don't just constantly hold us all to ransom.
No, exactly right. But I mean, good luck finding a job that pays as well as that does, which involves such a small amount of work, because some of the conditions they've got are outrageous. You know, their shift starts, an 8-hour shift starts the minute they walk out the front door. So, you know, if it takes them an hour to get to work and an hour to get home, they're only actually doing 6 hours.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of cabs are given to them as well.
Yeah.
And there's a video going around on the on social media with somebody knitting. I think.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Buttons. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy situation we're in now. Absolutely crazy. You want to look at their pensions, Mike. You and I would give anything for their pensions.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They also get free travel for not only them but somebody else in their household or who lives with them. It's ludicrous.
I know, and then apparently part of their new demand is to get half-price entry to places like Legoland and, you know, drag nights out in Soho.
I mean, have you ever heard the like? They just hold us to ransom, and it has been absolutely dreadful trying to work in London. And I feel so sorry for all the businesses that have absolutely lost all their trade this week.
Yeah, of course, absolutely right. I've got another clip here, which I think is you quizzing him about Metropolitan Police budgets. Have a look at this.
With a £260 million black hole, Mr Mayor, in the Met's budget, we are losing front counters, we're losing officers in schools, we're losing horse units, we're losing the police from the royal parks, but apparently we have got enough resource for 5 armed officers to arrest and detain a comedian in custody.
The concern the Commissioner has is officers are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they don't take action, they're criticised. If they do take action, in addition to the impact on resources, they're criticised as well.
While Mr Linehan's tweets were investigated, there are scores of cases will have been dropped. Of these 78,000 crimes reported in August, the positive outcome rate was less than 13%. So are policing tweets more important then than solving some of these crimes like thefts, burglaries and sexual assaults? And if we're discussing freedom of speech, last month you published a press release suggesting that those protesting peacefully outside migrant hotels are extremists and are committing hate crimes. Do you think they are?
There's nothing wrong in protesting as long as it's lawful, peaceful and safe.
The press release you put out was not along those lines, so perhaps you should be more careful with the words that you use.
Yes. Once again, I'm sort of you come away feeling very dissatisfied with his answers, don't you?
Well, he doesn't answer properly, and I actually spoke to the chairman in the meeting about that. It's so frustrating. You ask a proper question, and he'll talk to you about something else, or he'll always blame Boris, of course, because Boris gets blamed for everything. One of the things that he said why he wasn't giving £30 million to the unions this time, which, by the way, I'm glad he's not his taxpayers' money, was that we were in a different time. He said the economic picture had normalised. What planet is he living on? Rachel Reeves is an utter disaster. Yeah. We all know it. If you look at the strikes, I'm sorry, I don't think they've got any public support for that whatsoever. We're in an absolute nightmare situation. Sadiq Khan said it'd be great if we had a Labour government working with him as a Labour mayor. I'm sorry, it's the worst of all worlds.
Exactly
Labour
right.
are hopeless. I hope Labour are toast.
I mean, they really are. Well, they're pretty much writing themselves out of the history books, aren't they? Because after this, nobody will ever elect them ever again. I mean, they've now just announced this morning zero growth for July. You know, July, which is normally, particularly in London, a big month for tourism, a big month for sporting activity, a big month for people spending money, and they've managed to create zero growth. Brilliant.
Well, that's right. But if you look at it, there's so many concerts have been cancelled because of the strikes.
Yeah.
If you look at people that spent a fortune coming here as coming to see our great city as tourists, what are they going to think? They can't get around. I mean, it's just a disaster. Labour are a disaster.
They really are. Susan, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Susan Hall, London Assembly member, former Conservative London mayoral candidate, of course. This one from Brian. He says, morning, Mike. I went to Thailand on holiday. Whilst I was there, I paid for a full medical, which pinpointed certain issues. And on my return, I gave the report with greys and scans to my GP. She said, we don't recognise their standards, so you'll have to do them all again here in the UK. What was the point of me trying to help? This is one of the reasons the NHS is in the state that it is. Let's get a voice note from Elle.
My brother-in-law died a couple of years ago. I've been my sister's next of kin. She's never driven, so I take her to her hospital appointments. She's waiting for 2 operations on her back, and the last appointment we attended in person at the hospital with the consultant was purely to actually have a physical signature to say she still wanted the operation. And I thought, well, they haven't even done a pre-op, so it was 2 hours of my time for basically, do you want to stay on the list? Ridiculous.
Bonkers. Absolutely crazy. There's nothing about the NHS that is in any way efficient. It's completely inefficient. This from Anne, who says, thank God I moved to Cyprus. My husband was ill, went to our local A&E. He was seen immediately, diagnosed with diabetes, high blood pressure. A brain scan was given the same day, multiple mini-strokes diagnosed, saw a diabetic consultant, cardiologist, neurologist in 2 days, now on meds and thankfully alive. Yeah, I mean, how is it possible that they can do that in Cyprus, but they can't do it here? I'll tell you why, because it's not run like the NHS is run. It's run by people with brains, rather than people with absolutely no brains at all. It's 8:52.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. It's coming up to very nearly 9 o'clock. We're about 4 minutes away. And, of course, then that's the final hour of the show. Alison in Nottinghamshire says, the grown-ups are in charge. Unfortunately, the grown-ups are a dysfunctional flipping mess. And Michael from Crystal Palace says, I wonder who's going to get the sack next Friday. Any ideas? So I can go to William Hills and put a bet on. Keep up the good work. Can't wait for Plank of the Week coming up tonight, of course. Have a good weekend. Yeah, Plank of the Week tonight, 7 o'clock. Don't miss it. Let's go now, though, to the Sun, because we're going to do 90 minutes in 90 seconds.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From the Sun.
Martin Lipton's here, Chief Sports Reporter at the Sun. Martin, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's all about the former Tottenham boss, isn't it? Ange Postecoglou, who's back in the Premier League.
He is with Nottingham Forest. I went up there to the City Ground yesterday to see him and have his watch his press conference unfold. And he was great, actually. He was really buzzing and really excited, but he also revealed, I think it was really interesting, that he knew he was going to be sacked by Spurs a few weeks, I think probably a few months before the axe actually came down, and that whilst knowing that, he didn't want to spoil the party after their Europa League triumph.
And he's an interesting character, isn't he? Because he got a bit tetchy towards the end of his reign at Tottenham, didn't he? He kind of went, it's not like you don't really appreciate me. I don't really think that I should be getting the kind of criticism that I'm getting. And he did get them a trophy.
He did get them a trophy, and he ended up as Mr. Grumpy. There's no doubt about that. He felt that he was being questioned from all sides, that he was being unfairly criticised. The reality is it was the worst domestic season Tottenham have had in 50 years. Yeah. But they did win the Europa League, whether by accident or design. He nevertheless ended a 17-year trophy drought, and he's looking to do the same thing at Forest. That their last trophy was 40-odd years ago. Under Brian Clough, they're looking to do the same again. He promised effectively to try to bring the same joy to the Forest fans that he did to the Spurs fans. And whatever happened about the end of his reign at Tottenham, that outpouring of sheer elation, emotion, ecstasy was clear, not just from the 250,000 who lined the streets of Tottenham to welcome them back, but fans who weren't there. There was a genuine sense of utter disbelief and happiness at winning that trophy.
And do you think he can do it? Do you think he can do the same thing at Nottingham Forest?
I think it'd be tough because he's got to completely change the way they play. Under Nuno, the predecessor, they were a very defensive, counter-attacking team. That's not his way. He wants to play proactive, attacking football at a cost defensively, as we saw with Spurs. But got to give it a go, I guess.
Oh, we give it a go. Absolutely right. What about Chelsea? They think they're going to avoid a points deduction.
They do. I think the rival fans were cackling and joyfully looking at the charges and thinking this will be points, this will be a multi-billion-pound fine, this will be the end of Chelsea. It won't be. These were offences that took place under the previous ownership of Roman Abramovich. They were about basically off-books payments to agents and intermediaries. The bizarre thing is that if they put those payments on the books, they wouldn't have broken the financial rules. They'd have been fined. They would have got a fine for dealing with unauthorised agents. So that was an offence in itself. Chelsea are pretty confident, having had discussions with obviously the FA, the Premier League and UEFA over this issue, that it will just be a financial punishment. It could be, I think it will be an 8-figure one. It'll be somewhere between 10 and 20 million, not to be sniffed at. But Chelsea's turnover was 450 million last year. They can probably just about wear it.
Just about. Martin, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Another big weekend of football coming up. Martin Lipton, Chief Sports Reporter, of course, at The Sun. That was 90 minutes in 90 seconds.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Coming up in the next hour, we've got loads more to do. It's the final hour of the show, of course. We'll be talking to William Clouston from the SDP. Also, how about this from Deborah in Leeds? She says, Mike, I've received an appointment with the cardiologist. My appointment is 8 p.m. in the evening. And get this, over the telephone. How is a diagnosis achieved over the phone? I know. Bonkers, isn't it? And this one from Steve in Cambridge. Good morning, Mike. LIBOR. Never in my life have I seen such a ragtag, snake oil selling group of politicians. Phase 2, going great. I've got full confidence in Starmer. Now I'm praying he will be gone. Let's hope so. Coming up very, very shortly, we'll get some news headlines. Jim Muir going to join us as well from the University of Alaska to give us the latest on the search for the killer of Charlie Kirk. And also, we're going to go live down to Westminster, where Alan Miller is putting up some opposition to the assisted dying bill, which is going through the House of Lords as we speak today. This is Morning Glory, back after the news. We've been talking this morning about a new theme park which is going to be built. The Universal Studios apparently are going to build it in Bedfordshire. We've been asking many of you to give us some ideas for theme parks. Alison in South Wales says in the new theme park at 5 p.m. every day they could have the PIP parade. All the people driving their brand new Motability cars.
Instead of the water rapids, you can have a road you go down that's full of potholes in a car with bad suspension and flat tyres. I don't know why they're bothering building a theme park in this country. They're going right, no one will be able to afford to go to it anyway.
How about the Rachel Reeves ride, says Terry in Birmingham. You go round and round and vanish up your own deficit. It's the HS2 ride. It travels at high speed for 10 feet, where everyone gets off and into the replacement bus ride. Tickets are £50 if bought 5 months in advance, or £1,000 on the day.
There's a strong rumour going around that Rachel Reeves is going to have a kissing booth at this theme park. So what I do, mate, I shove a £5 in a pot and you can go in and fill your boots.
Thank you very much indeed, and very generous of you. One from G, who says fast track to every ride for illegals, plus a free night stay in the park. New theme park bumper cars will have to pay a congestion charge, and the funhouse isn't built yet, despite Angela Rayner's pledge to build houses. What about Ghost Train doesn't move because the driver's on strike? Have a good day. This is brilliant for the theme park. How about grow your own cannabis farm? Yeah, that's a good one. An Ethiopian safari park narrated by Angela Rayner. Says Gary in Durham. How about that? This sums up the Labour Party to me. The one idea they have to improve growth for the economy is to basically have a bloody big fun fair. It's the type of idea primary school children would pitch, given 10 minutes to come up with something. Well, it turns out, Matt, in Royston, that it's not even their idea. But they're now trying to claim it's their idea, even though it was actually the Tories.
They have done brilliantly on breakfast, but you know on Drive you've done brilliantly as well. Downhill slide ride surrounded by ULEZ cameras so that people are fined on exit. Love it. You could have a Birmingham-themed whack the rat stall. If you whack the rat, you can have your bin emptied for free. On the Labour theme park, a house of mirrors where they're all boarded up because they can't bear to look themselves in the eye.
I've got a great one for you, mate.
This is for the is this for the Universal theme park run by Labour?
Moat right around the park.
Yeah.
With loads of dinghies. Call it the channel and say anyone who can break in, all is free.
Imagine the Scouts to say you can break into a theme park for free.
Hi, Jeremy. Hey, it's simple. You've got the lane.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to just after 4 minutes past 9. It is, of course, Friday, the 12th of September. The weekend looms. Plank of the week coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. I think you'll probably know who the winner's going to be because it's not that difficult now. All you have to do is work out which particular Labour minister is under the cosh on a Wednesday and then predict that that person will probably be Plank of the Week and sacked by Friday. This week, of course, and I'm not giving anything away, it was my Lord Peter Mandelson, because only on Wednesday the Prime Minister of this great nation of ours decided that he hadn't really done anything wrong, that in fact what he had done was to be completely and utterly honest about his relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and regretted it. And as long as you regret it, it doesn't really matter, does it? Have a listen to this.
Ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Yeah, well, now he's not playing an important role in the UK-US relationship because he was sacked yesterday. So I'm afraid no longer is my Lord Mandelson the appointee as ambassador to the United States of America. This comes just a few days before Donald Trump starts a state visit to this country. And, of course, there might be a few awkward moments when he asks about Lord Mandelson and how he's doing because, of course, you know, Keir Starmer hates any kind of confrontation, doesn't he? And he certainly doesn't like to do anything that might upset Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump says to him, why on earth did you pop the guy into the Washington embassy of the British business of running the country when you knew that he was a personal friend of Jeffrey Epstein, a paedophile and a dead man who has embarrassed almost every single major celebrity and political leader in the entire world? What were you thinking, you complete and utter plonker? Rodney? 03444991000. Also, of course, we'll be talking about the latest in the Charlie Kirk story. Front page pictures, particularly on the front of the Sun, the face of evil. They've got a CCTV shot now of the man that they believe carried out the single bullet assassination of Charlie Kirk a couple of days ago in Utah. The radical left is now being blamed by the President of the United States of America for the death of the 31-year-old father of two, and so many people still absolutely devastated. Members of his family, of course, don't know what to do or what to say. And the problem is that politics is becoming more and more polarised and more dangerous. And we spoke to some people in America this very day who have said they're worried that there are so many people there with guns that it could get an awful lot worse before it gets any better. William Clouston's here from the SDP. He's going to be telling us what he makes of all of that. Plus, he's launching a new energy green paper as well. He's going to tell us a little bit about that. Plus, of course, the NHS back in the firing line. It turns out that despite the lies that they've been telling us, from Wes Streeting to Keir Starmer to Rachel Reeves, it turns out waiting lists have actually gone up rather than down. And it's even harder to get an appointment now than it used to be, despite the fact that they say they've created another 5 million of them. What's going on? 7 minutes past 9. This is Morning Glory. Back after this. Bernie says what we really want to hear is Starmer declaring full confidence in himself. That would be good. He said he'd definitely be out, wouldn't he? And one from Keith who says, my brother-in-law in England had some skin cancer. It took 2 years and 5 months for it to be removed. Here in the Philippines, where I live, you can get specialist attention within 24 or 48 hours. Yes, you have to pay, but the charges are reasonable and we don't have to pay the huge taxes to support a bloated NHS. And that, of course, is one of the biggest problems we've got. William Clouston's here. William, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Very good morning. Let's just start with the NHS, if you don't mind. You know, we're consistently told by this government and gaslit that, you know, we're fixing the foundations, we've got 4 million appointments, 5 million appointments. Every time I say that, I get a huge barrage of texts and tweets from people who say, yeah, I've had 4 appointments made already, but not one of them's actually been honoured. And I've never actually seen a doctor. And similarly, now we're being told, despite... I mean, they actually appointed a new personal private secretary, parliamentary private secretary, rather, to Wes Streeting, who put out a tweet yesterday saying we're bringing the waiting list down. They've gone up.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, it's a shambles. It's interesting. They can't even get the basic... Though. No, well, it's the Labour. I mean, literally, there's no stability. I mean, put it nicely, there's no stability in anything they say. Literally, from day to day, they can say anything. They don't care. I don't think they care. Right. But yeah, on the NHS,
that's a shocking indictment of the system, isn't it?
It's a shocking indictment of establishment politics in this country. That's for sure. I mean, some of the other parties are improving, but Labour is an absolute shambles and they're an embarrassment. But on the NHS, yeah, why don't they just do some basics like train some nurses, train some doctors, train some clinicians, match what we need to what they train. Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
That would help. Yeah, they've never done it.
No, they keep telling us they haven't got enough doctors because they don't train very many. Yeah, you know, deliberately. So they keep the price high.
It's crazy. It is. No, I would overproduce doctors, and they're going to have to because a lot of them just go overseas as soon as you've trained them. So no, there's no attempt to do the very basics of governance. I think they've just lost it. They rely on magic solutions. Everything will happen. The market will sort it out. We'll just import people.
But it's like every day there's a new announcement, but it's an announcement of nothing. You know, I mean, today Starmer's first tweet of the day, which I call his first lie of the day, is about the Google Cloud. And how we're all going to, you know, be much better off as a result of the Google Cloud, and how he's going to, you know, create loads of jobs, which he won't create.
Well, they won't. Do you know why they won't on data centres? We haven't got the power. No. For a start. Yeah. So, no, it's not going to help. I long for a government to do what government should do, which is run the country properly. Yeah. Public sector productivity, which affects the NHS, it affects every single department. Every local authority is in the same boat. A lot of staff aren't turning up to work, and when you ask them to turn up to work, they'll say they threaten striking. It's a shambles.
It really is. And today we get the breaking news that there's literally zero growth in July, which is traditionally a month when there is reasonable growth because there's sporting events going on.
It picks up.
There's tourists coming into the country, but we got nothing.
Well, you can't. Their rhetoric. I mean, again, it's the same on Smash the Gangs or anything else. They'll say things, and we're going for growth. They said this before they were elected. They said it just after they were elected. Every single thing they've done, Mike, is inhibiting growth.
Yeah,
taxing jobs, taxing businesses, overtaxing the private sector. No, it really. They've got no solution. It's like just saying we want growth. It's like trying to make leaves grow by pulling them.
Right.
It doesn't work.
No. No. And yet they don't seem to know that.
No, virtually, I'd say virtually everything. The black hole, do you know, Mike, the black hole, the fiscal black hole is bigger now than it was when they first came to power.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's going to get even bigger. It's 50 billion right now. It's probably going to be 100 billion by the time we get around to Christmas.
Basics, please, basics. You know? Get a border, get some control.
Yeah, exactly right. Speaking of basics, obviously the big story of the week, apart from Mandelson, which I'm sure we'll get onto, is Charlie Kirk. Awful story. I mean, we were all quite upset here yesterday doing the show. Because it happened sort of overnight for us on Wednesday night into Thursday. And America's always been a dangerous place. People have always had guns. People have always been, you know, not afraid to use them.
Yeah.
But this is a particularly awful story, it seems to me.
It's horrible, Mike, and to think that it is so sad and so senseless, but also to think that it happened to someone who took free speech and open debate onto campuses.
Right.
He's trying to have an open debate with people, and he's ended up getting killed on the university campus. Shocking.
It really is.
And the reaction to it by some people has also shocked me.
That's the other thing.
It really has. And when I read about, say, the response of the president-elect of the Oxford Union, I actually double-took and did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
In an institution like Oxford,
and he said something like, you know, Charlie Kirk's been killed. Let's go.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Sorry, that to me that represents just moral decay at the heart of an institution. Vile, absolutely vile.
Absolutely. And even those who would be less perhaps brazen as that, there are some in our business who were saying things like, well, you know, he was a very divisive figure, and almost like justifying that somebody's killed him.
It's awful.
And you just go, what?
No, I know, I've seen that as well, and also, I mean, you know, you don't know what's in the mind of a killer like that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know. And I'm always very careful, actually, to in what I say after these things. You want to find out, but certainly the temperature needs to be dialed down, and what people say about other people's opinion does matter. And people, you know, people have mentioned people like David Lammy, for instance, who called Trump, who's a Democratic politician. You might not want to vote for him, you might not agree with him, but he called him a neo-Nazi. That's the sort of thing that is problematic to me. You know, our party, the SDP, represents about half the public. Most people, it's a very mainstream view. You might want to control immigration, you might want good public services, you might want a water industry owned by the public and so on. But we get accused of being extreme in some. No, we're not.
Right.
We're just representing what most people think, and that's the problem.
Right. Well, we saw a story this week in the Times, didn't we, that more people now than ever actually believe that the climate change crisis has been at the very least exaggerated, and has not actually really been as bad as people are making it out to be. Well, and so people are more sceptical now generally about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good you mentioned that, because we launched our energy abundance green paper yesterday on this topic, and I mean, it's what they're doing is literally destroying the economy in front of our eyes. They are deluded. They're literally deluded. These renewables are not reliable, and because they're not reliable, because when the sun doesn't shine or when the wind isn't blowing, you haven't got it, so you import massive amounts of gas, and it's crippling. Literally, net zero and the lack of planning in the system. If you wanted to design and structure a system which beggars the country, this could hardly be improved on. It's literally, we calculate in our green paper that we've lost something like 3 trillion in productivity because of high energy prices. So it is a crisis. I mean, we need to face up to it.
I mean, we have the most expensive electricity in the entire world, which is hard to believe, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, yeah. For formerly, well, it is an energy-rich country, Mike, but if they've throttled oil and gas deliberately, they won't give licenses and they'll delay them. And it breaks your heart. I mean, good for the Norwegians, right? They're selling us gas.
They're selling us gas
but
in the same field that we've just shut down.
Yeah, and it's insanity.
Yeah.
We're led by people that are. It breaks your heart. The country could be so much wealthier and so much better organised. But they're ideologues. I mean, Miliband is a total ideologue, smashing the tax base. And actually, I have to say, Reeves and Starmer are the same. They all back this stuff.
Right.
And if they continue, there won't be a tax. There won't be a tax base.
Right.
You see, basically, net zero is so inefficient. Renewables are so inefficient. Wind power. They have to subsidise them.
Yeah.
And oil and gas is so efficient they can tax it.
Yeah.
And so the problem is, if you smash your economy, there won't be an economy to pay for your stupid net zero projects.
But this is what's happening overall, isn't it? Because we've got a smaller and smaller. I mean, there's a story out this morning saying that there's now 3 million people on universal credit, right? Which is up from 2 million the year before. So it's 33 1/3% up, a third up.
Disastrous.
Right? And as the welfare state gets bigger and the private sector gets smaller, there's fewer and fewer of us paying for more and more.
The burden falls much.
And so they can't keep squeezing us.
Well, but it's like the pubs, and as I talk about industry all the time, the taxed industry out of existence. The cement industry is contracting. We can't make cement. So you're literally in a situation where you're
grow some.
You can grow some.
Sorry.
You couldn't resist that. You can, but no, you could grow some by opening cement factories and having power that's affordable. You could do it. And now we're importing about a third of the cement we use. And then you can't. What these people have got to understand is you can't tax a closed factory.
Yeah.
If you don't have industry, you can't tax anything. You're knackered.
But this is what they found: is that every single tax initiative they brought in effectively has raised nothing.
Destroys growth.
You know, from the VAT on private schools, which has been absolutely hopeless. The saving that they made on the winter fuel allowance payment was practically zero.
Of course.
They are bringing in more money from national insurance. However, it's not enough to pay for the interest on the loans that they've borrowed.
No.
That they have to pay off every month.
No, they've got a major problem. And meanwhile, people are leaving the country as well, which is another problem.
Totally.
People, the young people just sniff the air and think, actually, I'm off. I'll go somewhere better.
My youngest son is like, I don't want to stay here. He said, I'm going to go abroad. And I said, okay. So he's currently looking at various different possibilities, which there are many of, by the way.
There are.
Whether it's Southeast Asia, whether it's Australia, whether it's America. You know, I mean, there's plenty of places he can go. Tell us a bit more about this energy paper, though, because I know it's not easy to summarise in a couple of minutes, but what would your strategy be on energy, then?
Well, get the causes right first. What's caused it? What happened is, in the late 80s, the Electricity Act, they stopped. You and I are old enough to remember something called the CEGB, which was centralised planning and centralised power. And if you look at the graphs, we've got graphs in the green paper, it's the glory days of energy production in this country. They overproduced. And the graph, it grew, energy production and transmission grew at about 3% a year. It just goes like that. And then they stopped planning, left it to the magic private sector, and then it just falls off a cliff. And the incentives aren't there. It's just the same as water. If you're a private water company, it's not in your interest to invest, really. What you do is sweat the assets.
So they basically take the money.
They take the money out and give it to shareholders, so that goes wrong. And then combined with net zero, it's just an absolute disaster area. So that's the problem. So you've got to go away from those things. Our solution is basically to get back to a planned system, plan and generate
Would you nationalise it?
Yes. Generate it, like call it central energy. Generate it here. It's got to be domestically generated, because this import situation is beggaring us as well. So you want a new wave, basically, of gas fuel power stations first. You can do those quite quickly. And coal-fired power stations, we're recommending. It's cheaper. Well, there you go.
And coal is brilliant. I mean, I tell this story, I've told it before. Moved into a house in Wiltshire and I bought a place down there and discovered an old coal scuttle, basically. And it was full of coal.
Full of coal, there you go.
And I went, this is great. And we had a fireplace. And I went, I'm going to try some of this. So I was like the boy from Back to the Future, And I kind of put the coal, and I put it in, and I was like, crikey, this is great. It's so warm. And it burns for so long.
It's a fraction.
And it's literally as if it's the best, most efficient form of heating that I'd ever seen.
Yeah, but this is such a crisis for the entire economy. Actually, our recommendation for coal is that it's cheaper. It's about a quarter of the price of gas per therm. So it's a good idea to do it. But in the long run, you've got to build some nuclear power stations. That's why there's the atom on the front of the green paper. That's what we've got to do, and we could do it. And again, it's
Are you into the smaller ones or the bigger ones?
No, I think you need the ones we recommend are the Korean model or the Westinghouse. I mean, you want them built by Britain in the end, and we made this industry. Mike. We pioneered nuclear energy. You go up to Dounreay and you see it. 1955 they built that. And we had it, and we just let it go. Successive governments just thought, I'll not bother having this. And, you know, again, it doesn't matter whether it's...
Because, again, it's politically, you know, incorrect or something.
Stupid. No, it's basically... And also a lack of ambition. I mean, Blair and Brown thought that we didn't have the money to keep our own power stations, so they flogged them to the French.
Yeah.
And then when Cameron and Osborne got on, you know, but good at PR, but not very good at governing, they didn't...
But this is what they say, isn't it? That everything got flogged off, basically.
Everything
got sold.
The summary of it, Mike, is that we stopped building and planning things, and we started flogging them.
Yeah.
Macmillan was right about this. He was flogging the family silver. That's what they did, and that's why we're beggared now by this. So the only way to turn it'll be tough. I promise you. That if you implement what we're saying, this will be tough. But it's the only solution. It's not as tough as not doing it. I tell you that. If we don't get affordable power in this country, we are absolutely knackered.
We're screwed. Yeah. Absolutely right. Let me finish up with a bit on Mandelson. We've got a new clip, apparently. This is Keir Starmer on Peter Mandelson's appointment.
There's a real buzz around Washington right now. You can sense that there's a new leader in town, that he's a true one-off, a pioneer in business and in politics. Many people love him. Others love to hate him. But to us, he's just Peter. And Peter is the right person to help us work with President Trump and to take this special relationship from strength to strength.
Yeah, how's that going? I'm not sure what the buzz is, but I can hazard a couple of guesses as to what it might be.
Not on
also, he might be known to him as Peter, but he's known to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein as Petey.
Yeah. It's disgusting, this.
Isn't it awful?
It's again, the country's being dragged into the gutter. Best pal of
And how
Stein.
could he not have known?
How could... No, well, he's...
Starmer I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but so he's not being briefed, probably. That's a failure. But I think they were... known. The Times this morning said that there certainly were security concerns, and he was briefed about them. You don't know exactly what. But it's just terrible, terrible judgment.
Yeah.
And actually, Mandelson is a specialist, isn't he? He's got sacked from every single position he's been in.
I mean, somebody mentioned it earlier this week, you know, on Twitter. One of the reasonably sort of clever political pundits just said, you know, if only there'd been a clue that Peter Mandelson was a bit of an unreliable person to put into a position of power. Well, there was actually two pretty big clues: the Hindu jars and Jeffrey Robinson.
Yes, and past form. How many times can you be rehabilitated like that? You know, no, just terrible judgment. And yet again, Starmer. It would be the worst thing in the world for you to be commended by him, because the next day you'd be out of a job.
Exactly right.
It's like the football
but that's
channel.
how useless he is. You know, he endorses you as the Prime Minister, and then he can't actually save you. He can't help you.
No,
that's how powerless he is.
I've never known anything like it in politics.
No.
He is a man. There's no stability in anything he says. When he won the Labour leadership, he had a series of promises. Went back on every one. Every single one. So whether it's day to day or week to week, it doesn't matter. It's a shambles.
It's shocking.
I'm coming to believe you're right. He won't last.
He won't. No. I think everybody's starting to believe I'm right. You know, even I mean, James Cleverly's only given him till Christmas. Which is pretty good. Now, just before we go, and William, thank you very much for being here. We're going to please you by giving you a bit of Kevin O'Sullivan, who you might not see very often. This is a gaffe from him this week. Not ready for the start of his own show.
Welcome back. Now we are trying to cover this.
Now, the reason for that, to be fair to him, is that he's got something stuck in his ear, because he put an earpiece in which sort of remained in his ear when he pulled it out, and then somebody put another earpiece on top of it, pushed it further in. I don't know whether he needs to see a doctor about this, but this is the real reason why he was stuck.
Oh, God. I won't. I'm just trying to... You actually cannot see it.
Oh, no.
I cannot see it.
Well, it must be down there, then. I can't go on like this.
I'm sorry, Kev. I can't go on like this. He's quite right. Hopefully they'll get it fixed by tonight. He's on at 7 o'clock, as ever, of course. William, really good to see you. A quick voice note from Mark on phase 2.
Yeah, morning, Mike. It's Mark in Lancashire. So we're on stage 3 of the Starmer plan now, are we? Stage one was fixing the foundations, where all he seems to have done is totally torn down the foundations of Britain and made us a laughing stock all over the world. Total mess. Stage two, I suppose, is smashing the gangs, where all he's done is smash his own gang, basically, smash his own cabinet, smash his own government, so there's nobody left. We're sort of holding our breath as to what stage three is, aren't we? I think in preparation for stage three, I'm going to nip down to Lidl, fill a supermarket trolley with tinned food, batteries, torches, and basically go and put a crash hat on and sit under the stairs. I mean, what's coming down the line?
That's a very good point, Mark. I think you may well be right. Could be a global thermonuclear war is a stage three. Anyway, listen, we'll be back. We're going to talk to Alan Miller in a little while. There's an assisted dying bill going through the House of Lords today down in Westminster. We'll get some of that going on. William Cleason, thank you very much indeed. I'll have a read of that over the weekend. The Social Democratic Party have got a new plan to fix the energy problem in this country. Somebody needs to fix it. We'll see you in a minute.
All great political activists, left or right, whether it's a Martin Luther King Jr., whether it's a Bobby Kennedy, whether in this case it's a Charlie Kirk. There are people who reached out, went across borders of where people thought they should be going to look and to work, to talk to people all the time. Disagreement cannot be settled at the end of the barrel of a gun. And what I think needs to happen in our country
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's coming up to very nearly 9:30, incredibly. We've got Alex Phillips in from 10 o'clock, of course. A couple of things to tell you about before we speak to Jim Muller, Professor Emeritus of Political Science at the University of Alaska. If you haven't done it yet, go and check out the Independent Republic of Mike Graham YouTube channel, which is where you can find all sorts of goodies, including Plank of the Week, including all these shows that we do every single day here. The full show, you can watch it there if you've missed any of it. But there's also lots of clips and things as well that are there, which are posted on a daily basis. And of course the podcast comes out if you miss any of the show as well and you haven't got time to watch it on YouTube. You can get the podcast usually around about 10:15, 10:30 every weekday morning once the show is finished. Also today, Ali Ross is in the Sun every Friday. He's the incredible TV critic that he is. He does Lookalike of the Week. I've actually appeared in Lookalike of the Week before. I can't remember who I was supposed to be lookalikey with, but he's got a great one this week. He's got basically Greta Thunberg in her new role as he puts it, Swedish doom goblin, copyright Rod Liddell, and He-Man from the famous He-Man cartoon. Does look quite similar. I don't know what she's thinking. Why does she think that's a good look? That was, of course, before she went off on the latest Gaza flotilla, and they claimed that they'd had their boat scuppered by the IDF. It turns out that one of the people on the boat actually sent a flare up, and they didn't do it properly, and so it came back down and set fire to the boat. Brilliant. Yeah, well done, Greta. Fantastic work. Let's have another look at that Keir Starmer clip as well, on Peter Mandelson's appointment. It gives me Rachel Reeves vibes, you know, the first woman Chancellor. Have a look.
There's a real buzz around Washington right now. You can sense that there's a new leader in town, that he's a true one-off, a pioneer in business and in politics. Many people love him. Others love to hate him. But to us, he's just Peter. And Peter is the right person to help us work with President Trump and to take this special relationship from strength to strength.
Yeah, otherwise known as Petey, to his best pal and paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. He's now out of a job, of course, because he's been sacked, because apparently Keir Starmer didn't know that Petey had a bit of a problem with Jeffrey Epstein, in that he was his best pal, even though he told him he was his best pal, and even though he knew that his best pal was a paedophile. So he made him ambassador to the United States of America anyway. What an absolute idiot. Let's talk to Jim Muller, though, because on the front pages this morning, 2 days after the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk over in Utah, they've got a picture of who they believe is the killer, a man who had some ammo which carried a pro-trans message, we're told, and a man who not only was able to fire one shot accurately enough to kill Charlie Kirk, hit him in the neck, he was able to get off the roof that he fired it from about 260 feet away, and disappear. And he's still, at the moment, at large. Jim Muller's the Professor Emeritus of Political Science at the University of Alaska. Jim, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to speak to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm surprised, in a way, I don't know if you are, that the gunman is still at large, because they now have an image of him, they now have a picture of him. I'm hopeful that they'll apprehend him shortly.
They seem to be fairly confident that they'll be able to catch him before too much longer. They're proceeding very methodically, apparently.
Yeah, I'm sure. And obviously it's a shocking event, a shocking story. But for those people, perhaps like yourself, who work in higher education and work on campuses, I'm told it's something that's been kind of a long time coming, if you like.
Well, I think it's really too bad that our politics has gotten to the point where people are not able to listen to each other and instead are resorting to violence. It's usually a sign of having a weaker or no argument. And Charlie Kirk has been extremely successful for a number of years at appealing, especially to young men who have often felt forgotten and ignored or even reviled by people who consider themselves politically correct.
Right. And that is a problem, I think, internationally. That's the case in this country as well, in a way, that young men feel somehow disenfranchised from the society in which they live, particularly young white men who feel as though, you know, they're kind of at the bottom of every list of social mobility.
Right. I think that was one of the main reasons why there were so many people who thought that the end to DEI, that is diversity, equity, and inclusion, substitution for equal treatment under the law was a big mistake and ought to be corrected. That policy and practice has always been unpopular among people of all races in America, and also carried on only sub rosa, because those who are responsible for putting it into practice can never admit what they're actually doing, because everyone would think it was unfair, because it is.
Yeah.
And this was certainly one of the reasons that President Trump was elected last November.
No question. And a lot of people have said to me since the event itself, Jim, that it might be a bit of a seminal moment, it might be a watershed moment, it might be time for people to sit up and go, OK, enough now, let's sort this problem out. Do you think that's where we are, or do you think it might get worse?
Well, I think that's true, but unfortunately, there have been enough examples of people on the left imagining that political violence is always to be condemned when it's carried out by their enemies, but winking at it or even saying things that tended to encourage people who are a bit off their nut to think about it seriously, or joking about it in a way that really isn't at all healthy.
Yeah.
And that has been increasingly a problem.
Yeah. No question at all. Listen, Jim, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. We've got to run. Jim Muller, Professor Emeritus of Political Science at the University of Alaska. Coming up, we're going to be talking to Alan Miller. He's down on Westminster's College Green for us, because outside of the Houses of Parliament there's a little bit of a rally going on because Theresa May, believe it or not, is actually leading the opposition to the assisted dying bill. The assisted dying bill's back and it's going through the House of Lords, and Theresa May is against it. We'll be talking to Alan about exactly what he's up to down there, coming up after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory at 9:40. Interesting sort of messages coming out of Westminster right now. Both Stephen Swinford from The Times and Dan Hodges are also saying the understanding there is mounting panic in Downing Street, basically that Peter Mandelson decided to bring down Keir Starmer with him, which could be very interesting indeed. Watch this space, I think. You know, Alex Phillips will keep an eye on that throughout the course of the next 3 hours. But, you know, Peter Mandelson is not a man that forgets. He's not a man that is unfamiliar with revenge. And he's certainly not a man who will go quietly. Quite frankly, he's not going to do that. So he may well bring old Keir Starmer down with him. How hilarious would that be? You know, the Labour Party eating itself. Hilarious. Steve, on zero growth. Go for it.
Good morning, Mike. I've had my own fencing business for 20 years. Got a really good reputation in the area. And this last year I've seen trade just die off to the point where now is the first time in 20 years that I've seriously basically concerned about the amount of work that's coming in. The phone just is not ringing. You can't make the phone ring. People ain't spending money. The economy is absolutely screwed.
Yeah, well, there's zero growth in July. Guess what? There'll be zero growth in August, and then it'll probably go into the minuses for September. There's literally nothing going on. There's nobody got any money, and nobody wants to spend any money because they don't know whether they'll get it back. And they don't know whether any investment that they put into anything is going to see the light of day at all. Shocking state of affairs. Let's talk to Alan Miller, co-founder of the Together Declaration. He's down in Westminster this morning because the assisted dying bill is back. Alan, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Tell us what's happening today.
Well, I'm outside Parliament, Mike. We're here with Together and Christian Concern and a range of other campaigning organisations. I'm actually stood next to Cecil Harper, who in 2019 was told he may have 2 to 3 years to live, as well as being next to Deborah Noble, whose mother, Julie Phillips, was also told a similar thing. Cecil's very much with us here, and so is Deborah's mother, Julie, thankfully. And that goes to speak to the question of 6 months to live. It's one of the big concerns that's part of this second reading in the House of Lords today, that 6 months is given, and also that many are saying that if doctors are minded to go along, slightly partisan on this idea, they'll just kind of do a, yes, shuffle it on through. And the broader context, Mike, of significant concerns by the review committee in the House of Lords that it will not have proper scrutiny of Parliament and measures will be passed without having the due process. Now, Cecil, do you want to just say to Mike, just tell us briefly your story in a nutshell?
Well, I was diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer back in 2019. I was not expected to be here now. And since then, let me jump forward. Since then, I wanted to go on holiday. And I needed a prognosis from the doctors to say how long I'm going to live for insurance purposes. And they told me a year, which was 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, actually. So sometimes when people plant a seed in your mind that you've only got a year to live, I know it can make you sort of think, oh, well, what's the point? I'm feeling pain. This is probably me, the end of me now. And it could force you into thinking, because of all this pain that I'm in, I might as well give up now. Because I've only been given a year to live, and I've had 6 months of that. So this is probably the end for me. But you don't know because they're not God. And I've outlived their prognosis more than once.
And just on that, we're here. There's lots of campaigning groups, Mike. There is a big demo on Parliament Square, it should be said, for full disclosure. But I think that's because people are genuinely concerned that there are going to be a lot of changes. And many MPs who were for it originally or in principle, many Lords who say they're for it in principle, are really concerned about what this is going to mean. And we have seen 5 years of madness under lockdowns, Mike, and we also know the backdrop of the idea there's too many people, what's the point in living? Maybe your time should be now coffin dodgers, terrible things that said around net zero, too many people. Briefly, Debbie, it's inspiring that your mum's still with us. I understand she's getting worse now, but what would you say to people listening about why this needs to be put down and changed?
I think no one determines how long any of us have on this earth. Only God has that authority. And I have seen my mum overcome countless challenges in this battle. She survived 2 major operations. The surgeon couldn't believe when she walked. She was literally out of bed a week later on an operation that they cleared the room 3 times. And it was really, really touch and go. And that was in 2019. They gave her 6 months to 2 years in 2020, and she's still with us. And life is so valuable. Who can determine when someone, in every other area of society, we call it murder?
Thank you. And just to say, I mean, Esther Ranson's been a big proponent, but she's gone for much more, thankfully, than 6 months. And, you know, many people have a similar story. Here, there are campaigners that are saying, there's at least 10 people here, Mike, that are saying that they were given 6 months to live.
Yeah.
This is something that's of grave concern to everyone, not just people who are sick or their carers, although we know we've got millions of them in Britain, but anyone who wants to think about the state that has the ability to kill its citizens and what kind of precedent that sets. It's very concerning. That's why at togetherdeclaration.org we've encouraged everyone to campaign and have their voices heard. We know there hasn't been enough scrutiny in Parliament. Many MPs weren't even really aware of all the implications. It's good that the Lords are doing this second read through. The public should be engaged in this debate. It's of major implications.
So do you think, Alan, that basically this is not a necessary bill, that they should just do away with it?
Absolutely. I mean, our view is that they should dispense with this entirely. Obviously, in the Lords, there are many people even who are for it, who think that there's grave concerns even as it stands. The point is it's been rushed, it's been fudged. Even the measures they say that were protecting have been dispensed with. We've seen that happen. And anybody who's concerned with this, you know, the value of life in a free society, we see in some societies we're very concerned that the state can kill its citizens for all sorts of reasons, political and others. This is something that everyone should be concerned about in Britain. And that's why we're here today. We're together.
All right, Alan, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Wish you well. Alan Miller down there in Westminster with the many people campaigning still basically to do away with this right to die bill, which they feel is a step too far, an intrusion too far, and permission in a way too far to give the state too much power over whether you can actually live or die. And it does seem that way. Let's get a voice note from Mike.
Hiya guys, Mike here from Wem in Shropshire. It's really interesting to see the rise in universal credit numbers. I've recently become a single parent and previously was a full-time working chef, so 70 hours a week. So I've dropped down to a normal 8 to 5 job, 40 hours a week for pretty much minimum wage, so I can actually have some time to live. But then I'm not able to survive on that wage. I don't have an expensive lifestyle. But the cost of living going up, the cost of food is getting ridiculous. It's 95p for a yogurt in some places. It's just ridiculous. So I asked Universal Credit this time. Is there anything I'm eligible for? I'm a single parent. I've got my local council's fleecing me on my council tax whilst charging me for bins and all of that. And it turns out I'm eligible for money. I've paid into the tax system for for 20 years now at least. And you know what? I'm fine with it.
Listen, lots of people are on universal credit who shouldn't be on it. Lots of people are on benefits who shouldn't be on them. But if, Mike, as you say, you've taken a pay cut and you are trying to raise a child and you might need a bit of extra help, I think there's a much better way of doing it, though. I think there should be a better way of doing it. And I'd quite like the Richard Tice reform view, which is basically to, you know, raise the threshold at which you start paying income tax. So if you're paying no income tax up to, say, 20,000 quid, you'd be much better off. And at the end of the day, surely that's better than having you put through a system of sort of benefits, which will make you feel probably slightly different about yourself, because you'll feel, rather than you know, contributing to society, you'll feel as if you're taking something out of it. And I take your point. You should be fine with it. You're not doing anything wrong. But I think the worry is that so many people who are on low wages are getting their work effectively subsidised by taxpayers. And that doesn't do anybody any good, because what it means is that the employers know that they don't have to give you any more money because the state is going to help them out. Whereas if there was no tax payable on everything under 20 grand, they could just give you that money and then they wouldn't have to worry about it. And I think that's more sensible. This from Pop in Anglesey. I lived in Cyprus. They examined, scanned and diagnosed my daughter with MS all in one day. She was treated immediately and had ongoing first-class care. How? Because it's an insurance-based system. No GP, straight to a specialist, MRI and neurologist, and we only moved there 10 days prior to her becoming ill. Excellent service, all for 90 quid a month for a family of 4. It's all right, isn't it? It's nice, Cyprus as well. Sunny. Karen. My favourite text of the day so far. I was invited to go for my 40-year MOT health check. It was cancelled and needs to be rebooked. I'm now 49 and I still haven't had it. Brilliant. God bless the NHS. What an absolute shambles. 10 minutes to 10.
That's, you know when there's always sort of something lurking in the background from, how can they just go, right, it's just like a mum and a father and son meeting, there's been some bad blood, how do we then just sort of get it out in the open? And that's what is needed. But and it is probably a relief that actually there's no Meghan lurking in the back, when he goes back to his hotel tonight. Okay, he might get on the phone to her and talk to her about it, but hopefully that's where it will end.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 9:54, very nearly. Alex Phillips will be here very shortly to take us through for the next 3 hours. Plank of the Week, of course, at 7 o'clock tonight. Don't miss that. You will not want to miss it. It's a really funny one this weekend as well. Let's get a quick voice note from Becky.
Morning, Mike. Becky from Wiltshire here. In April, I broke my leg. Before the operation to pin it, the anaesthetist said, did I want a DNR? I said, no, I've got a dog to look after. He said, that's fine, I'll make sure your record reflects you want to be resuscitated at all costs. Imagine my surprise when I got home and my discharge papers said, after consultation with the physician, the patient had agreed that resuscitation was not appropriate. Just as well I made it through the operation, eh? Thanks, Mike.
Crikey. Well, at least he didn't nip out in the middle of it to go and have sex with the nurse next door. I mean, I suppose you could have been worse. Jesus. This from Dean in Oxford. Morning, Mike. I went on my NHS app a few weeks ago to get a repeat prescription. My details hadn't been updated, so I rang my local GP in Oxford. All I wanted was a repeat, but the lady on reception said she would have to arrange a phone call from my doctor. I said, OK. Then she told me it would be 9 days later. I replied, I only want a repeat. 9 days later, I got the 10-second phone call and my prescription. Why? Why does it take so long? What's wrong with this country? Why does nothing work? Anyway, earlier today, I should say, rather, we spoke to former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam on the search for the killer of Charlie Kirk. Here's what he said.
Really, it's a problem around the world. I do threat assessments all over the world. I've been all over the UK as well, in most of your venues. And some venues are great, other venues not so much. Right. We go in there, we do threat assessments, and we look at these areas from the attacker's point of view, and then we coordinate with law enforcement and with the venues. And often you run into hurdles with them where they don't want to secure certain areas. And I believe that's what happened here. There was only 6 police officers there, and they did not do a threat assessment well enough to secure this building and the roof.
Right, and was some of that down to Charlie Kirk's kind of just, you know, affability, if you like? You know, he wanted to be out there, he wanted to be in the mix, he wanted to talk to people, he didn't want to be protected by, you know, sort of presidential-style security. Is that part of the issue here?
Well, it is with all entertainers, but, you know, when you work with these people constantly, you have to train them. You literally have to train them and help them understand it. He could still have his events outside, but you have to do the proper threat assessment and lock down the areas, such as buildings and the roofs. Why do people keep continuously getting on these buildings? And this individual showed up with less than an hour before the shot and somehow found his way up to that roof, which leads me to believe he probably knew that campus. But I didn't even really answer your first question. The reality is what's taken so long to get to this is because they didn't do the threat assessment properly, and that guy was able to get up there and then leave. And so law enforcement's hours and hours behind trying to track this individual.
Right. Because, I mean, knowing not very much about, you know, the use of high-powered rifles, but, you know, knowing from what I see just in movies and things, you know, you have to get up on the roof, you have to assemble the gun if it hasn't been assembled already, you have to put yourself in position. He was clearly a very well-trained assassin. He hit one bullet and with a lot of accuracy.
I don't know how accurate I don't know how well trained he was. I mean, from that distance, about 173 yards with a 30-06, that is a very easy shot. You're nowhere close to the max effective range for that weapon. I mean, you're well inside that. So with a scope.
Yeah. Alex Phillips has just arrived, as you may have seen across the camera. Thank you very much for that. Coming up tonight, 7 o'clock, Plank of the Week. David Lammy, for example, right? He was the Foreign Secretary. He's now in charge of justice, which includes the police. Have a look at this.
If it feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished, it's not around you. We haven't seen a police while I've been here, and I've been here for nearly on.
It's literally a policeman over his right shoulder. And then because he was demoted, Starmer decided it's a good idea to make him Deputy Prime Minister, which is why he's now moved into Angela Rayner's old place. It's like a comedy show, this. Carry on governing. It is like a comedy show, but tragically, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Fascinating breaking news that there's apparently panic building in Downing Street. Alex Phillips is here. They're all worried now because apparently Lord Mandelson is vowing to take Keir Starmer down with him.
Oh, and you know what? So
Bring
he
it.
should go down, because to me, I was making this point about 2 days ago because I'm Mystic Meg. I was saying the point is this: Mandelson is clearly somebody who is easy to exploit, to blackmail. There is so much past on this, so much previous. It is the most sensitive diplomatic